Introduction by Deborah G. Plant. On December 14, 1927, Zora Neale Hurston took the 3:40 p.m. train from Penn Station, New York to Mobile to conduct a series of interviews with the last surviving African of the last American slaver, the Clotilda. His name was Clotilda, but he was called Cudjoe Lewis. He was held as a slave for 5.5 years in Plateau Magazine Point, Alabama, from 1860 until Union soldiers told him he was free. Clotilda lived out the rest of his life in Africatown, Plateau. Hurston's trip south was a continuation of the field trip expedition she had initiated the previous year. Oluwale Clotilda had survived capture at the hands of Dahomean warriors, the Barracoons at Wida, and the Middle Passage. He had been enslaved, he had lived through the Civil War, and the largely unreconstructed South, and he had endured the rule of Jim Crow. He had experienced the dawn of a new millennium that included World War I and the Great Depression. Within the magnitude of world events swirled the momentous events of Clotilda's own personal world. Zora Neale Hurston, as a cultural anthropologist, ethnographer, and folklorist, was eager to inquire into his experiences. "I want to know who you are," she approached Clotilda, "and how you came to be a slave, and to what part of Africa do you belong, and how you fared as a slave, and how you have managed as a free man." Clotilda absorbed her every question, then raised a tearful countenance. "Thank ye, Jesus. Somebody come ask about Cudjoe. I won't tell it somebody why. So maybe they go into Africa's soil someday and call him my name. And somebody say, yeah, I know Clotilda." Over a period of 3 months, Hurston visited with Clotilda. She brought Georgia peaches, Virginia hams, late summer watermelons, and bee brand insect powder. The offerings were as much a currency to facilitate their blossoming friendship as a means to encourage Clotilda's reminiscences. Much of his life was a sequence of separations. Sweet things can be palliative. Clotilda trusted Hurston to tell his story and transmit it to the world. Others had interviewed Clotilda and had written pieces that focused on him, or more generally on the community of survivors at Africatown. But only Zora Neale Hurston conducted extensive interviews that would yield a comprehensive book-length account of Clotilda's life. She would alternately title the work Barracoon, the story of the last black cargo, and the life of Clotilda. As with the other interviews, Clotilda hoped the story he entrusted to Hurston would reach his people, for whom he was still lonely. The disconnection he experienced was a source of continuous distress. Origins. Clotilda was born circa 1841 in the town of Bantay, the home to the Isha subgroup of the Yoruba people of West Africa. He was the second child of Fondlolu, who was the second of his father's 3 wives. His mother named him Clotilda, meaning, "I do not lose my fruits anymore," or "my children do not die anymore." His mother would have 4 more children after Clotilda, and he would have 12 additional siblings from his extended family. Fondlolu's name identified her as one who had been initiated as an Orisha devotee. His father was called Oluwale, though his father was not of royal heritage, as Olu, which means king or chief, would imply. Clotilda's grandfather was an officer of the king of their town and had land and livestock. By age 14, Clotilda had trained as a soldier, which entailed mastering the skills of hunting, camping, and tracking, and acquiring expertise in shooting arrows and throwing spears. This training prepared him for induction into the secret male society called Oro. This society was responsible for the dispensation of justice and the security of the town. The Isha Yoruba of Bantay lived in an agricultural society and were a peaceful people. Thus, the training of young men in the art of warfare was a strategic defense against bellicose nations. At age 19, Clotilda was undergoing initiation for marriage. But these rites would never be realized. It was 1860, and the world Clotilda knew was coming to an abrupt end. Transatlantic trafficking. By the mid-19th century, the Atlantic world had already penetrated the African hinterland. And although Britain had abolished the international trafficking of African peoples, or what is typically referred to as the transatlantic slave trade in 1807, and although the United States had followed suit in 1808, European and American ships were still finding their way to ports along the West African coast to conduct what was now deemed illegitimate trade. Laws had been passed and treaties had been signed, but half a century later, the deportation of Africans out of Africa and into the Americas continued. France and the United States had joined forces with British efforts to suppress the traffic. However, it was a largely British-led effort, and the U.S. patrols proved to be ambivalent and not infrequently at cross purposes with the abolitionist agenda. Habituated to the lucrative enterprise of trafficking and encouraged by the relative ease with which they could find buyers for their captives, Africans opposed to ending the traffic persisted in the enterprise. The Fawn of Dahomey was foremost among those African peoples who resisted the suppression. Not only was the internal enslavement of their prisoners perceived as essential to their traditions and customs, the external cell of their prisoners afforded their kingdom wealth and political dominance. To maintain a sufficient slave supply, the king of Dahomey instigated wars and led raids with the sole purpose of filling the royal stockade. King Gezo of Dahomey renounced his 1852 treaty to abolish the traffic, and by 1857 had resumed his wars and raids. Reports of his activities had reached the newspapers of Mobile, Alabama. A November 9, 1858 article announced that the king of Dahomey was driving a brisk trade at Witta. This article caught the attention of Timothy Mayer, a slaveholder who, like many pro-slavery Americans, wanted to maintain the transatlantic traffic. In defiance of constitutional law, Mayer decided to import Africans illegally into the country and enslave them. In conspiracy with Mayer, William Foster, who built the Clotilda, outfitted the ship for transport of the contraband cargo. In July 1860, he navigated toward the Bight of Benin. After 6 weeks of surviving storms and avoiding being overtaken by ships patrolling the waters, Foster anchored the Clotilda at the port of Witta. Barracoon. From 1801 to 1866, an estimated 3,873,600 Africans were exchanged for gold, guns, and other European and American merchandise. Of that number, approximately 444,700 were deported from the Bight of Benin, which was controlled by Dahomey. During the period from 1851 to 1860, approximately 22,500 Africans were exported, and of that number, 110 were taken aboard the Clotilda at Witta. Clotilda was among them, a transaction between Foster and King Glele. In 1859, King Gezo was mortally shot while returning from one of his campaigns. His son Barracoon had ascended to the throne. He was called Glele, which means the ferocious lion of the forest, or terror in the bush. To avenge his father's death, as well as to amass sacrificial bodies for certain imminent traditional ceremonies, Glele intensified the raiding campaigns. Under the pretext of having been insulted when the king of Bantay refused to yield to Glele's demands for corn and cattle, Glele sacked the town. Clotilda described to Hurston the mayhem that ensued in the pre-dawn raid when his town townspeople awoke to Dahome's female warriors who slaughtered them in their days. Those who tried to escape through the 8 gates that surrounded the town were beheaded by the male warriors who were posted there. Cthulhu recalled the horror of seeing decapitated heads hanging about the belts of the warriors, and how on the second day, the warriors stopped the march in order to smoke the heads. Through the clouds of smoke, he missed seeing the heads of his family and townspeople. It is easy to see how few would have looked on that sight too closely, wrote a sympathetic Hurston. Along with a host of others taken as captives by the Dahomean warriors, the survivors of the Bantay massacre were yoked by forked sticks and tied in a chain. Then marched to the stockades at Abomi. After 3 days, they were incarcerated in the Barracoons at Wida, near the Bight of Benin. During the weeks of his existence in the Barracoons, Cthulhu was bewildered and anxious about his fate. Before him was a thunderous and crashing ocean that he had never seen before. Behind him was everything he called home. There in the Barracoon, as there in his Alabama home, Cthulhu was transfixed between 2 worlds, fully belonging to neither. Cudjoe's own story. Prior to their December 1927 meeting, Hurston had interviewed Cthulhu once before. As she states in her introduction to Barracoon, I had met Cudjoe Lewis for the first time in July 1927. I was sent by Dr. Franz Boas to get a first-hand report of the raid that had brought him to America and bondage for Dr. Carter G. Woodson of the Journal of Negro History. From February to August of 1927, Hurston conducted field work in Florida and Alabama under the direction of Franz Boas, her mentor, the renowned father of American anthropology. Boas had early on approached Woodson, the father of Black history, about a fellowship for Hurston in support of the research. In accordance with their arrangements, Hurston was to collect Black folk materials for Boas and scout around for undiscovered Black folk artists. In addition to the gathering of historical data for Woodson, she was also to collect Cthulhu's story. Woodson supported Hurston's field research with a $1,400 fellowship. Half of the funds came from the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, an organization founded and directed by Woodson. Elsie Cluse Parsons of the American Folklore Society granted matching funds. As a fellow and investigator for the association, Hurston was expected to contribute material to the Journal of Negro History, a publication of the association. During the latter part of her time in the field, Hurston drove to Plateau, Alabama, to undertake her last task for Woodson and conduct the interview with Cthulhu. Along with various reports and archival data, Hurston submitted to Woodson materials she had collected on Fort Jose, a Black settlement in St. Augustine, Florida. Woodson published this material as an article entitled Communications in the October 1927 issue of the journal. In the same issue, he published Hurston's Cthulhu interview as Cudjoe's own story of the last African slaver. A footnote at the beginning of the article stated that, as an investigator of the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, Zora Neale Hurston had traveled to Mobile to interview Lewis, the only survivor of this last cargo. The note states further, she made some use, too, of the voyage of Clotilda and other records of the Mobile Historical Society. In reality, Hurston made more than a little use of the Society's records, and though part of the article was a first-hand report, the larger portion of the article was second-hand information drawn from Emma Langdon Roche's Historic Sketches of the South, 1914. Emma Roche was a writer, artist, and farmer born in Alabama in 1878. Her book is an account of the origins of slavery in America, couched in pro-slavery tenets and paternalistic perspectives. Her narrative recounts the history of the Clotilda and follows the fate of the Africans who were stored in its hold. Only decades later would the literary critic and Hurston biographer Robert Hemingway bring the matter of Hurston's borrowing to scholarly attention and discussion. Hemingway credits the findings to the linguist William Stewart, who discerned it in 1972. Stewart's discovery was conveyed to me, Hemingway noted in Zora Neale Hurston, a literary biography, by John Swed of the University of Pennsylvania. I am grateful to Professor Stewart for granting me permission to cite his research and findings. Though the footnote in her 1927 article acknowledges the Mobile Historical Society as a secondary source, it does not reference historic sketches specifically, and Hurston makes no direct reference to Roche's book within the body of the article itself. Rather, improperly documented paraphrased passages and near verbatim appropriations from Roche's work constitute the larger part of the article. Of the 67 paragraphs in Hurston's essay, Hemingway relates only 18 are exclusively her own prose. Hemingway speculates that Hurston found her interview with Clotilda lacking in original material and therefore resorted to the use of Roche's work to supplement it. He supposes, too, that Hurston, writing at the outset of her career, suffered a quandary of purpose, direction, and methodology. How exactly was she to introduce the world to African American folklore, which she perceived to be the greatest cultural wealth on the continent? Hemingway observed that Hurston, as one of the folk herself, struggled to negotiate the socio-cultural chasm between her rural hometown of Eatonville, Florida, and the wealthy enclaves of New York City. He believed that her frustration with the academic study and presentation of the African American folk and folk culture was a reflection of the same struggle. Hurston had imbibed Boas's theory of cultural relativity and understood that there were no superior or inferior cultures. She understood that cultures were to be assessed and evaluated on their own terms. But were the methods of Boas and Woodson conducive to her purposes? Was it possible that the repertorial precision of Western scientific investigation could be the means by which she would document and celebrate African American genius and thereby challenge European imperialism and Euro-American cultural hegemony? Or did she believe, as did poet Audre Lorde, that the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house? In a letter to her friend Thomas Jones, the president of Fisk University, Hurston articulated her conundrum. Returned to New York and began to rewrite and arrange the material for scientific publication, and while doing so, began to see the pity of all the flaming glory of being buried in scientific journals. She was dubious about Boas's objective observer approach to folklore collection, and she chafed under Woodson's brand of scholarship. She preferred to be in the field, writes Hemingway, and so resented the time she spent investigating court records and mindlessly transcribing historical documents. Nonetheless, Hemingway wondered why Hurston would risk her career and whether her plagiaristic use of Roche's work was an unconscious attempt at academic suicide. This attempt, Hemingway concludes, is made because of a lack of respect for the writing one has to do. If detected and her scientific integrity destroyed, Hurston's academic career would have been finished. She would then have been free from Boas's admonitions and Woodson's demands and the unglamorous labor of collecting folklore. Is it possible, Hemingway speculates further, that footnotes referencing Roche had been included but were lost or otherwise omitted from the other records to which the article's footnote alludes? In any case, Hemingway states that Hurston's career needs no absurd apologetics. She never plagiarized again. She became a major folklore collector. Hurston's biographer Valerie Boyd has proposed that even though Hurston resented the hack work she did for Woodson, it is also just as likely that Hurston believed the report was only for Woodson's files. She did not expect it to be published any more than she thought her transcribed communication was worthy of publication. The communications article was a compilation of transcribed excerpts from letters and historical and congressional documents, strung together with brief transitional statements. This style of reporting bears comparison with the composition of Cudjoe's own story. Boyd wondered whether Hurston's submission of material that contained only 25% of her original work might have been Hurston's way of getting back at Woodson for arbitrarily slicing her pay and cutting into her research time by having her do his dread work. Hurston had complained to her friend, the poet Langston Hughes, that she had finished her work for Woodson, but wasn't paid in full. I thought I'd get paid for the month, but he only paid me for 2 weeks. She vented to Hughes and told him that she felt depressed about the matter. As Hemingway conjectured that Hurston may have saved the juicy bits of her folklore finds for theatrical collaborations with Langston Hughes, Boyd conjectured that Hurston had resolved to save her most compelling material from Cudjoe Lewis for her own work. Cthulhu had gained some celebrity as the last living survivor of the Clotilda. Other anthropologists, folklorists, historians, journalists, and artists alike had sought him out. Hurston's colleague Arthur Huff Fawcett had already collected from Cthulhu the folktale Terrapin, which he published in Alan Locke's 1925 The New Negro, an interpretation. Speculations aside, Boyd states, making some use of material from another writer is completely common and acceptable. But as Zora knew, copying another's work and passing it off as one's own is not. It is possible that the compromised article may have both relieved Hurston of tedium and allowed her a boon of lore for her own purposes, thereby hitting a straight lick with a crooked stick. Or, as Linda Marion Hill suggests in Social Rituals and the Verbal Art of Zora Neale Hurston, Hurston's professional faux pas may have been an instance of Hurston masking her emotional response to a troubling event. In 1927, Zora Neale Hurston was new. Although Hemingway may have agreed with Franz Boas that Hurston was a little too impressed with her own accomplishments, it is equally true that she herself was still very much impressionable. In 1927, the career to which critics allude was in the future. Hurston was not the seasoned social scientist who had published the folklore collections Mules and Men, 1935, and Tell My Horse, 1938. She was not the author of 4 novels, including the celebrated Their Eyes Were Watching God, 1937. She was yet at the beginning of things. Cudjoe's own story was Hurston's debut scholarly publication. In writing her first essay on Cudjoe, Linda Hill surmises Hurston might have been too moved and too uncertain how to manage her subjective response, rather than too frustrated with the rigors of scientific analysis to produce an authentic text. As Hurston reflected on her interview with Cthulhu years later in her autobiography, Dust Tracks on the Road, it gave me something to feel about. The interview changed, Hurston, Hill observes. This elder, an Isha Yoruba in America, had schooled her in the socio-political and cultural complexities of my people. In face of Cthulhu's recollections, the social constructions of my people and Africans were deconstructed by the reality of ethnic identifications, which not only distinguished tribes and clans, but also generated the narrative distance and the ideological difference that rendered one ethnic group capable of regarding another as stranger or enemy, and allowed that group to offer up the other to the transatlantic trade. One thing impressed me strongly from this 3 months of association with Cudjoe Lewis, Hurston writes. The white people had held my people in slavery in America. They had bought us, it is true, and exploited us. But the inescapable fact stuck in my craw was, my people had sold me, and the white people had bought me. That did away with the folklore I had been brought up on. That the white people had gone to Africa, waved a red handkerchief at the Africans, and lured them aboard ship and sailed away. Hurston was a collector of folklore. However, the folklore she was brought up on contradicted the folklore she was collecting from Clotilda. Moreover, all that this Cudjoe told me, Hurston mused, was verified from other historical sources. Harlem Renaissance pundits and artists like Zora Neale Hurston were wrestling with the identity of the Negro. They had reclaimed the image of black people and asserted the value of black culture vis-a-vis white people and Anglo-American culture. There was a decided movement to do away with the image of the old Negro, usher in the new Negro, whose authentic culture and ethos were rooted in African origins. How did the butchering and killing of African others and the extirpation of whole societies fit within the profile of this modern, authentic, new Negro? Might Hurston have attempted to avoid the inescapable fact of that dimension of African humanity that was motivated by the universal nature of greed and glory? Could it be that the woman and social scientist whose objectives entailed the discovering and uncovering of African cultural retentions in America was blindsided by Clotilda's recollection of the inhumanity that was integral to his delivery at the port of Widow? Perhaps, rather than force herself to deal with such disorienting facts that stuck in her craw, Hurston chose in that moment to submit a narrative about the raid that had already been penned. Although justifying plagiarism is impossible, Hill writes, the reasons for it should be scrutinized in light of its being, to date, a one-time occurrence in the long, productive career of a prolific and widely published author. Hill's perspective is an important one, especially given the fact that Hemingway levels a similar charge, condemning and dismissing Barracoon, as though the manuscript were but an extension of the earlier published Cudjoe Lewis piece. It is not. Hemingway proclaims that the article published in the journal was an anomaly, and reports that Hurston returned to Mobile to interview Clotilda anew, and did so with greater success. Barracoon, the book-length work, was the result of her efforts. Yet, even this unpublished manuscript, written in 1931, writes Hemingway, makes extensive use of Roche and other anthropological sources. Although it skillfully weaves together the scholarship and Hurston's own memories of Cudjoe, it does not acknowledge those sources, and it is the type of book that Boas would have repudiated. Hemingway writes further, the book purports to be solely the words of Cudjoe. In fact, it is Hurston's imaginative recreation of his experience. Her purpose was to recreate slavery from a black perspective, but she was doing so as an artist, rather than as a folklorist. Although the journal article and the book manuscript have a common subject in Clotilda, they are two distinct works. And where the charge of plagiarism is reasonable with the first, it is unfounded with the second. Hurston does draw on Roche's work in Barracoon, and she acknowledges it only indirectly. In her preface to Barracoon, she writes, "For historical data, I am indebted to the Journal of Negro History and to the records of the Mobile Historical Society." In her introduction, Hurston describes her interviews with Clotilda and states, "Thus, from Cudjoe and from the records of the Mobile Historical Society, I had the story of the last load of slaves brought into the United States." In her use of Roche's work, as with her use of other secondary materials, Hurston makes a good faith effort in Barracoon to document her sources. She does paraphrase passages from historical sketches, and she places direct quotes within quotation marks, though in the manuscript draft, she is inconsistent in this. And some sources are actually documented within the text of the introduction, and others are footnoted within the body of the narrative. The historian Sylviane Diouf states that Hemingway's characterization of Hurston's manuscript was uncalled for. She may have conflated some of what Cudjoe said with some of what she knew as a scholar, but she made a genuine effort at separating the two. With few exceptions, the information provided in Barracoon is confirmed by other sources. Witnesses, experts in Yoruba cultures, contemporary newspaper articles, and abundant archival material corroborate the various events in Cudjoe's life as described in Barracoon. Far from being a fictionalized recreation, Diouf writes, Cudjoe's story, as transmitted by Hurston, is as close to veracity as can possibly be ascertained with the help of other records. She states further that Hurston had produced an invaluable document on the lives of a group of people with a unique experience in American history. Rather than repudiate her, Boas might well have been pleased and encouraging, as Hurston, in this early phase of her professional writing, endeavored to utilize historical records to support her folklore findings, just as both Boas and Woodson had instructed. What is more significant is that Hurston was struggling to appease neither Boas nor Woodson, but was engaged in the process of actualizing her vision of herself as a social scientist and an artist who was determined to present Cosula's story in as authentic a manner as possible. Cosula, Hurston, Charlotte Mason, and Barracoon. In September 1927, Hurston had met and come under contract with Charlotte Osgood Mason, a patron to several Harlem Renaissance luminaries. Mason funded Hurston's return to Alabama for the extended interviews with Cosula, and she supported Hurston's research efforts while preparing Barracoon for publication. In a March 25, 1931 letter to Mason, Hurston writes that the work is coming along well. She reported that she had to revise some passages, but that she was within a few paragraphs of the end of the whole thing. Then for the final typing. She described the revisions and related her new research findings. I found at the library an actual account of the raid, as Cosula said that it happened. Also the tribe name. It was not on the maps because the entire tribe was wiped out by the Dahomey troops. The king who conquered them preserved carefully the skull of Cosula's king as a most worthy foe. Hurston and Mason conversed about the potential publication of Barracoon over a period of years. In her desire to see Hurston financially independent, Mason encouraged Hurston to prepare Barracoon, as well as the material that would become Mules and Men for publication. Charlotte Mason considered herself not only a patron to Black writers and artists, but also a guardian of Black folklore. She believed it her duty to protect it from those whites who, having no more interesting things to investigate among themselves, were grabbing in every direction material that by right belongs entirely to another race. Following the suggestions of Mason and Alan Locke, Hurston advised Cosula and his family to avoid talking with other folklore collectors, white ones no doubt, who he and Godmother felt should be kept entirely away, not only from the project in hand, but from this entire movement for the rediscovery of our folk material. Mason's support of Hurston's efforts with Barracoon extended to monetary contributions to Cosula's welfare. Mason and Cosula would eventually communicate directly with each other, and Cosula would come to consider Mason a dear friend. As one letter suggests, Cosula was struggling financially. It had come to Mason's attention that Cosula had used excerpts from his copy of Hurston's narrative to gain financial compensation from local newspapers. Cosula dictated a letter to Mason in response to her concerns. Dear friend, you may have seen in the papers about my history, but this has been over 3 years since I has let anyone take it off to copy from. I only did that so they would help me, but there is no one did for me as you have. The Lord will bless you and give you a long life, where there is no more parting. Yours in Christ, Cudjoe Lewis. As Mason was protective of Hurston's professional interests, both women remained concerned about Cosula's welfare. Having discovered that Cosula was not receiving money that Mason had mailed to him, Hurston looked into the matter. She updated Mason accordingly. I have written to Claudia Thornton to check up on Cosula and all about things. I have also asked the post office at Plateau to check any letters coming to Cudjoe Lewis from New York. As Hurston checked on Cosula, she continued revising the manuscript. Second writing of Cosula all done and about typed. She wrote Mason on January 12, 1931. On April 18th, she was enthusiastic. At last, Barracoon is ready for your eyes. Appreciative of Mason's support, Hurston dedicated the book to her and began submitting it to publishers. In September 1931, she contemplated Viking's proposal. The Viking press again asks for the life of Cosula, but in language rather than dialect. It lies here, and I know your mind about that, and so I do not answer them except with your tongue. The dialect was a vital and authenticating feature of the narrative. Hurston would not submit to such revision. Perhaps, as Langston Hughes wrote in The Big Sea, the Negro was no longer in vogue, and publishers like Bonney and Viking were unwilling to take risks on Negro material during the Great Depression. The Griot. There seems to be a note of disappointment in Diouf's revelation that Hurston submitted Barracoon to various publishers, but it never found a taker and has still not been published. Hurston's manuscript is an invaluable historical document, as Diouf points out, and an extraordinary literary achievement as well, despite the fact that it found no takers during her lifetime. In it, Zora Neale Hurston found a way to produce a written text that maintains the orality of the spoken word, and she did so without imposing herself in the narrative, creating what some scholars classify as orature. Contrary to Hemingway's dismissal of Barracoon as Hurston's recreation of Cosula's experience, Hill writes that, through a deliberate act of suppression, she resists presenting her own point of view in a natural or naturalistic way and allows Cosula to tell his story in his own way. Zora Neale Hurston was not only committed to collecting artifacts of African American folk culture, she was also adamant about their authentic presentation. Even as she rejected the objective observer stance of Western scientific inquiry for a participant observer stance, Hurston still incorporated standard features of the ethnographic and folklore collecting processes within her methodology. Adopting the participant observer stance is what allowed her to collect folklore like a new broom. As Hill points out, Hurston was simultaneously working and learning, which meant ultimately that she was not just mirroring her mentors, but that she was coming into her own. Embedded in the narrative of Barracoon are those aspects of ethnography and folklore collecting that reveal Hurston's methodology and authenticate Cosula's story as his own, rather than as a fiction of Hurston's imagination. The story, in the main, is told from Cosula's first-person point of view. Hurston transcribes the story using his vernacular diction, spelling his words as she hears them pronounced. Sentences follow his syntactical rhythms and maintain his idiomatic expressions and repetitive phrases. Hurston's methods respect Cosula's own storytelling sensibility. It is one that is rooted in African soil. It would be hard to make the case that she entirely invented Cthulhu's language and, consequently, his emerging persona, Comets Hill, and it would be an equally hard case to make that she created the life events chronicled in Cthulhu's story. Even as Hurston has her own idea about how a story is to be told, Cthulhu has his. Hurston is initially impatient with Cthulhu's talk about his father and grandfather, for instance, but Cthulhu's proverbial wisdom adjusts her attitude. Where is the house where the mouse is the leader? Hurston complained in Dust Tracks on a Road of Cthulhu's reticence, yet her patience in getting his story is quite apparent in the narrative. She is persistent in her returning to his home, even when Cthulhu petulantly sends her away. He doesn't always talk when she comes, but rather chooses to tend his garden or repair his fence. And sometimes, her time with him is spent driving Cthulhu into town. Sometimes he is lost in his memories. Recording such moments within the body of the narrative not only structures the overall narrative flow of events, but reveals the behavioral patterns of her informant. As Hurston is not just an observer, she fully participates in the process of helping Cthulhu to tell his story. In writing his story, says Hill, Hurston does not romanticize or in any way imply that ideals such as self-fulfillment or fully realized self-expression could emerge from such suffering as Cthulhu is known. Hurston does not intercept his comments, except when she builds a transition from one interview to the next, in her footnotes, and at the end when she summarizes. The story Hurston gathers is presented in such a way that she, the interlocutor, all but disappears. The narrative space she creates for Cthulhu's unburdening is sacred. Rather than insert herself into the narrative as the learned and probing cultural anthropologist, the investigating ethnographer, or the authorial writer, Zora Neale Hurston, in her still listening, assumes the office of a priest. In this space, Oluwale Kuzola passes his story of epic proportion on to her. Barracoon. To Charlotte Mason, my godmother, and the one mother of all the primitives, who with the gods in space is concerned about the hearts of the untaught. Preface. This is the life story of Cudjoe Lewis as told by himself. It makes no attempt to be a scientific document, but on the whole he is rather accurate. If he is a little hazy as to detail after 67 years, he is certainly to be pardoned. The quotations from the works of travelers in Dahomey are set down, not to make this appear a thoroughly documented biography, but to emphasize his remarkable memory. 3 spellings of his nation are found: Attako, Tacccou, and Taccow. But Lewis's pronunciation is probably correct. Therefore, I have used Takkoi throughout the work. I was sent by a woman of tremendous understanding of primitive peoples to get this story. The thought back of the act was to set down essential truth rather than fact of detail, which is so often misleading. Therefore, he has been permitted to tell his story in his own way, without the intrusion of interpretation. For historical data, I am indebted to the Journal of Negro History and to the records of the Mobile Historical Society. Zora Neale Hurston, April 17, 1930. Introduction. The African slave trade is the most dramatic chapter in the story of human existence. Therefore, a great literature has grown up about it. Innumerable books and papers have been written. These are supplemented by the vast lore that has been blown by the breath of inarticulate ones across the seas and lands of the world. Those who justify enslaving on various grounds have had their say. Among these are several slave runners who have boasted of their exploits in the contraband flesh. Those who stood aloof in loathing have cried out against it in lengthy volumes. All the talk, printed and spoken, has had to do with ships and rations, with sail and weather, with ruses and piracy and balls between wind and water, with native kings and bargains sharp and sinful on both sides, with tribal wars and slave factories and red massacres, and all the machinations necessary to stock a Barracoon with African youth on the first leg of their journey from humanity to cattle, with storing and feeding and starvation and suffocation and pestilence and death, with slave ship stenches and mutinies of crew and cargo, with the jettying of cargoes before the guns of British cruisers, with auction blocks and sales and profits and losses. All these words from the soul, but not one word from the soul. The kings and captains whose words moved ships, but not one word from the cargo. The thoughts of the black ivory, the coin of Africa, had no market value. Africa's ambassadors to the New World have come and worked and died and left their sport, but no recorded thought. Of all the millions transported from Africa to the Americas, only one man is living. He is called Cudjoe Lewis and is living at present at Plateau, Alabama, a suburb of Mobile. This is the story of this Cudjoe. I had met Cudjoe Lewis for the first time in July 1927. I was sent by Dr. Franz Boas to get a first-hand report of the raid that had brought him to America and bondage for Dr. Carter G. Woodson of the Journal of Negro History. I had talked with him in December of that same year, and again in 1928. Thus, from Cudjoe and from the records of the Mobile Historical Society, I had the story of the last load of slaves brought into the United States. The four men responsible for this last deal in human flesh, before the surrender of Lee at Appomattox should end the 364 years of Western slave trading, were the three Mayer brothers and one captain, William Bill Foster. Jim, Tim, and Burns Mayer were natives of Maine. They had a mill and shipyard on the Alabama River at the mouth of Chickasabogue Creek, now called 3 Mile Creek, where they built swift vessels for blockade running, filibustering expeditions, and river trade. Captain Foster was associated with the Mayers in business. He was born in Nova Scotia of English parents. There are various reasons given for this trip to the African coast in 1859, with the muttering thunder of secession heard from one end of the United States to the other. Some say that it was done as a prank to bet. That is doubtful. Perhaps they believed, with many others, that the abolitionists would never achieve their ends. Perhaps they merely thought of the probable profits of the voyage, and so undertook it. The Clotilda was the fastest boat in their possession, and she was the one selected to make the trip. Captain Foster seems to have been the actual owner of the vessel. Perhaps that is the reason he sailed in command. The clearance papers state that she was sailing for the West Coast for a cargo of red palm oil. Foster had a crew of Yankee sailors and sailed directly for Ouida, the slave port of Dahomey. The Clotilda slipped away from Mobile as secretly as possible so as not to arouse the curiosity of the government. It had a good voyage to within a short distance of the Cape Verde Islands. Then a hurricane struck, and Captain Foster had to put in there for repairs. While he was on dry dock, his crew mutinied. They demanded more pay under the threat of informing a British man-of-war that was at hand. Foster hurriedly promised the increase sailors demanded, but his wife often told how he laughingly broke this promise when it was safe to do so. After the repairs had been made, he made presents to the Portuguese officials of shawls and other trinkets, and sailed away unmolested. Soon he was safely anchored in the Gulf of Guinea before Ouida. There being no harbor, ships must stand in open roadstead, and the communications with shore are carried on by crewmen in their surf boats. soon Captain Foster, his kegs of specie and trading goods were landed. 6 stalwart blacks were delegated to meet him and conduct him into the presence of a prince of Dahomey, but he did not meet the king. Foster was borne in a hammock to the prince, who received him seated on his stool of rank. He was gracious and hospitable, and had Foster shown the sights of Wida. He was surrounded by evidence of great wealth, and Foster was impressed. He was particularly struck by a large square enclosure filled with thousands of snakes, which he was told had been collected for ceremonial purposes. Prince expressed regret that Foster had arrived a little too late to witness the Dahomey custom in honor of trade, foreign, i.e., mostly slave trade. Nevertheless, he found Foster's company so pleasant that he wished to make him a present. He therefore desired Foster to look about him and select a person, one that the superior wisdom and exalted taste of Foster designated the finest specimen. Foster looked about him and chose a young man named Gumpa. Foster making this selection with the intention of flattering the prince, to whom Gumpa was nearly related. This accounts for the one Dahomey in the cargo. The ceremonies over, Foster had little trouble in procuring cargo. The Barracoons at Widow were overflowing. It had long been a part of the traders' policy to instigate the tribes against each other, so that plenty of prisoners would be taken, and in this manner, keep the market stocked. News of the trade was often published in the papers. An excerpt from the Mobile Register of November 9, 1858 said, "From the west coast of Africa, we have advice dated September 21st. The quarreling of the tribes on Sierra Leone River rendered the aspect of things very unsatisfactory. Inciting was no longer necessary in Dahomey. The king of Dahomey had long ago concentrated all his resources on the providing of slaves for the foreign market. There was a brisk trade in slaves at from $50 to $60 a piece at Buda. Immense numbers of Negroes were collected along the coast for export. King Gezo maintained a standing army of about 12,000, and of these, 5,000 are Amazons. The Dahoman year was divided into 2 parts, the wars and the festivals. In the months of November or December, the king commences his annual wars, and these wars were kept up until January or February. These were never carried on for mere conquest. They were all forced upon the Dahomans from less powerful nations. The king boasted that he never attacked a people unless they had not only insulted Dahomey, but his own people must ask him for a war against the aggressors for 3 successive years. Then, and then only, would he let himself be persuaded to march forth and exterminate the insulting tribe. But there were so many insulting chiefs and kings that it kept the warriors of Dahomey, reluctant as they were, always upon the warpath. Whole nations are transported, exterminated, their name to be forgotten, except in the annual festival of their conquerors, when sycophants call the names of the vanquished countries to the remembrance of the victors. When the Dahoman king marched forth against a place, he concealed from his army the name or the place against which he has brought, until within a day's march of the goal. Daylight is generally the time of onset, and every cunning, secrecy, and ingenuity is exercised to take the enemy by surprise. With or without resistance, all the aged were decapitated on the spot, and the youth driven to the Barracoons at Widow. On the return from war in January, the king resides at Cana and makes a fetish. That is, he sacrifices largely and gives liberal presents to the people, and at the same time purchases the prisoners and heads from his soldiers of those slain in war. The heads are always cut off and carried home. No warrior may boast of more enemies slain than he has heads to show for. The slaves are then sold to the slave merchants, and their blood money wasted in the ensuing custom Hue no o Iwa, as the great annual feast is entitled in Dahoman parlance. The most important feast is held in March and called Sikeai, at which the king sacrifices many slaves and makes a great display of his wealth. There is a lesser festival in May or June in honor of trade, which is celebrated music, dancing, and singing. In July is celebrated the royal salute to the fetish of the great waters. Therefore, when Captain Foster arrived in May, the wars being just over for the year, he had a large collection to choose from. The people he chose had been in the stockade behind the great White House for less than a month. He selected 130, equal number of men and women, paid for them, got into his hammock, and was conveyed across the shallow river to the beach, and was shot through the surf by the skillful crew boys and joined his ship. In other boats manipulated by the crew boys were his pieces of property. When 116 of the slaves had been brought aboard, Foster, up in the rigging, observing all the activities of the port through his glasses, became alarmed. He saw all the Dahoman ships suddenly run up black flags. He hurried down and gave orders to abandon the cargo not already on board, to sail away with all speed. He says that the Dahomans were treacherously planning to recapture the cargo he had just bought and hold him for ransom. But the Clotilda was so expertly handled, and her speed was so great, that she sped away to safety with all ease. The next day he was chased by an English cruiser, but escaped by pressing on sail. Nothing eventful happened until the 13th day, when he ordered the cargo brought on deck so that they might regain the use of their limbs. Though the space in the Clotilda greatly exceeded the usual space in most slavers, the blacks were cramped. The usual space in which the middle passage was made was from 2.5 to 3 feet in height. It was about 5 feet in the Clotilda. However, the lack of action had none. On the 20th day, Foster thought he saw a British cruiser on the horizon intercepting his course. He climbed to the mast with his glasses. Yes, there she was, sweeping on toward his course. He hurried down and gave orders for the slaves to be returned to the hold. Then he anchored and lay until night, when he resumed his course. When Captain Foster reached American waters, the slaves were put back in the hold. The ship lay hidden for 3 days behind the islands in Mississippi Sound and near the lower end of Mobile Bay. To make the hiding more secure, the Clotilda was dismasted. Then Foster got into a small boat, rowed by 4 sailors, to go to the western shore of Mobile Bay, intending to send word to Mayer that the Clotilda had arrived. His approach was regarded with suspicion by some men ashore, and he was fired upon. Waving a white handkerchief, their doubts were allayed, and he offered $50 for a conveyance which would take him to Mobile. Captain Foster reached Mobile on a Sunday morning in August 1859. His return from the slave coast having been made in 70 days. Arrangements had long been made that a tug should lie in readiness to go at a moment's notice down Mobile Bay to tow the Clotilda and her cargo to safety. When the news came, the tug's pilot was attending services at St. John's Church. Captain Jim Mayer and James Dennison, a Negro slave, hurried to the church and called the pilot up. The 3 hastened down to the wharf and were soon aboard the tug. It proceeded down the bay, but waited till dark to approach the Clotilda. Finally, the tug was made fast to the Clotilda, and the trip up the bay was begun. The last slave ship was at the end of its voyage. The tug avoided the Mobile River channel, slipped behind the lighthouse on Battery Gladden into Spanish River. As the Clotilda passed opposite Mobile, the clock in the old Spanish tower struck 11, and the watchman's voice floated over the city and across the marshes. 11 o'clock, and all's well. The Clotilda was taken directly to 12 Mile Island, a lonely, weird place by night. There, Captain Foster and the Mayers awaited the R.B. Taney, named for Chief Justice Taney of the Dred Scott decision fame. Some say it was the Jew instead of the Taney. Lights were smooth, and in the darkness, quickly and quietly, the captives were transferred from the Clotilda to the steamboat and taken up the Alabama River to John Dabney's plantation below Mount Vernon. They were landed the next day and left in charge of the slave James Denison. At 12 Mile Island, the crew of northern sailors again mutinied. Captain Foster, with a 6-shooter in each hand, went among them, discharged them, and ordered them to hit the grit and never be seen in southern waters again. They were placed aboard the tug and carried to Mobile. One of the mayors bought them tickets and saw that they boarded a train for the north. The Clotilda was scuttled and fired. Captain Foster himself placed 7 cords of light wood upon her. Her hull still lies in the marsh at the mouth of Bayou Corn and can be seen at low tide. Foster afterwards regretted her destruction, as she was worth more than the 10 Africans given him by the mayors as his booty. The Africans were kept at Dabney's place for 11 days, being only allowed to talk in whispers, being constantly moved from place to place. At the end of the 11th day, clothes were brought to them, and they were put aboard the steamer Commodore and carried to the bend in Clark County, where the Alabama and the Tombigbee rivers meet, and where Burns Mayor had a plantation. There they were lodged each night under a wagon shed, and driven each morning before daybreak back into the swamp, where they remained until dark. Mayor sent word secretly to those disposed to buy. They were piloted to the place of concealment by Denison. The Africans were placed in 2 long rows, men in one row, women in the other. Some couples were bought and taken to sell. The remainder were divided up among the mayors and Foster. Captain Jim Mayer took 32 16 couples. Captain Burns Mayer took 10 Africans. Foster received 10, and Captain Tim Mayer took 8. Finally, after a period of adjustment, the slaves were put to work. Before a year had passed, the War of Secession broke out. With the danger from interference from the federal government removed, all the Africans not sold to Selma were brought to the Mayer plantations at Magazine Point. Nevertheless, the mayors were tried in the federal courts, 1860 to 61, and fined heavily for bringing in the Africans. The village that these Africans built after freedom came, they called African Town. The town is now called Plateau, Alabama. The new name was bestowed upon it by the Mobile and Birmingham Railroad, now a part of the Southern Railroad system built through the town. But still, its dominant tone is African. With these things already known to me, I once more sought the ancient house of the man called Cudjoe. This singular man, who says of himself, Edem etie ukum edem etie upar, the tree of 2 woods, literally 2 trees that have grown together. One part ukum maha, and one part upar, ebon. He means to say, partly a free man, partly free. The only man on earth who has in his heart the memory of his African home, the horrors of a slave raid, the Barracoon, the Lenten tones of slavery, and who has 67 years of freedom in a foreign land behind him. How does one sleep with such memories beneath the pillow? How does a pagan live with a Christian God? How has the Nigerian heathen borne up under the process of civilization? I was sent to ask. Chapter 1. It was summer when I went to talk with Cudjoe, so his door was standing wide open. But I knew he was somewhere about the house before I entered the yard, because I had found the gate unlocked. When Cudjoe goes down into his back field or away from home, he locks his gate with an ingenious wooden peg of African invention. I hailed him by his African name as I walked up the steps to his porch, and he looked up into my face as I stood in the door in surprise. He was eating his breakfast from a round, enameled pan with his hands, in the fashion of his fatherland. The surprise of seeing me halted his hand between pan and face. Then tears of joy welled up. Oh, Lord, I know it you call me. Nobody don't call my name from across the water but you. You always calling me Kazula, just like I in the Africa soil. I noted that another man sat eating with him, and I wondered why. So I said, I see you have company, Kazula. Yeah, I got to have somebody stay with me. I've been sick in the bed for 5 months. I needed somebody to hand me some water. So I take this man and he sleep here and take care of Cudjoe. But I get it well now. In spite of the recent illness and the fact that his well had fallen, I found Cudjoe Lewis full of gleaming goodwill. His garden was planted. There was deep shade under his chinaberry tree, and all was well. He wanted to know a few things about New York, and when I had answered him, he sat silently smoking. Finally, I told him I had come to talk with him. He removed his pipe from his mouth and smiled. I don't care, he said. I like to have company come see me. Then the smile faded into a wretched weeping mask. I was so lonely. My wife, she left me since the 1908. Cudjoe all by himself. After a minute or two, he remembered me and said contritely, "Excuse me, you didn't do nothing to me. Cudjoe feels so lonely, he can't help me cry sometimes. What you want?" "First, I want to ask you how you feel today." Another muted silence. Then he said, "I thank God I own praying ground and in a Bible country." "But didn't you have a God back in Africa?" I asked him. His head dropped between his hands and the tears sprung fresh. Seeing the anguish in his face, I regretted that I had come to worry this captive in a strange land. He read my face and said, "Excuse me, I cried. I can't help it when I hear the name called. Oh, Lord, I don't see Africa's soil no more." Another long silence. Then, "How come you asking me if we had no God back there in Africa?" "Because you said, thank God you were on praying ground and in a Bible country." "Yeah, in Africa we always know there was a God. He named Allah. But for Africans, we can't read the Bible, so we don't know God got a son. We ain't ignorant, we just don't know. Nobody don't tell us about Adam eating the apple. We didn't know the 7 seas were sealed against us. Our parents don't tell us that. They didn't tell us about the first days, no. That's all right, we just don't know. So that's what you come after me?" I temporized. "Well, yes. I wanted to ask that, but I want to ask you many things. I want to know who you are, and how you came to be a slave, and to what part of Africa do you belong, and how you fared as a slave, and how you have managed as a free man." Again his head was bowed for a time. When he lifted his wet face again, he murmured, "Thank you, Jesus. Somebody come ask about Cudjoe. I want to tell you somebody who I is. So maybe they go into Africa soil someday and call him my name. Somebody there say, yeah, I know Cudjoe. I want you, everywhere you go, to tell everybody what Cudjoe said. And how come I in America soil since the 1859 and never see my people no more? I can't talk it plain, you understand? But I calls it word by word for you, so it won't be too crooked for you. My name is not Cudjoe Lewis, it's Kazula. When I get it in America, so Mr. June Mayer, he tried calling my name, but it's too long, you understand? So I say, well, are you property? He say, yeah. Then I say, you calling me Cudjoe, that do. But in Africa, so my mama, she named me Kazula. My people, you understand me? They ain't got no ivory by their door. When that ivory from the elephant stand by their door, then that a king, a ruler, you understand? My father, neither his father, don't rule nobody. The old folks that lived 200 years before I was born, don't tell me the father from no ancestor. rule nobody. Now people in Africa, you understand, they not rich. That's the truth. I'm not going to tell you my folks, they rich and come from high blood. Then when you go into Africa's soil and ask to the people, they say, well, Zula over there in America's soil telling the folks he rich? I telling you like it is. Now that's right, ain't it? My father's father, you understand me, he an officer of the kingdom. He don't live in the compound with us. Wherever the king go, he go. You understand me? The king give him plenty land, give plenty cows and goats and sheep. That's right. Maybe after a while he'd be a little chief. I don't know. But he died when I was a boy. What he going to be later on, that don't reach him. My grandpa, a great man. I'll tell you how he go. I was afraid that Cudjoe might go off on a tangent, so I cut in with him. But Kasula, I want to hear about you and how you lived in Africa. He gave me a look full of scornful pity and asked me, where is the house where the mouse is the leader? In the Africa soil, I can't tell you about the son before I tell you about the father. And therefore, you understand me, I can't talk about the man who is father, till I tell you about the man who he fathered to him, grandfather. Now that's right, ain't it? My grandpa, you understand me, he got the great big compound. He got plenty wives and children. His house, it is in the center of the compound. Africa soil, the house of the husband, it always in the center. The houses of the wives, they in a circle around the house the husband live in. He don't think himself to marry with someone. Nope. In the Africa soil, if the wife to go find him another wife. Suppose I in the Africa soil. Cudjoe, he been married for 7 years, for example. His wife said, Cudjoe, I'm growing old, I'm tired. I will bring you another wife. Before she speaking that, she got the girl who he don't know in her mind. She a girl, she think very nice. Maybe if her husband never see her. Well, she go out in the marketplace, maybe in the public square. She see this a girl and ask the new girl, you know Cudjoe? The girl tell you, I've heard of him. The wife said Cudjoe is good. He is kind. I like you to be his wife. The girl say, come with me to my papa and mama. They go, you understand me, to the girl's parents together. They asked her questions, and she answered for her husband. She asked them questions too, and if both sides satisfied with one another, the girl's parents say, we give our daughter into your care. She ain't ours no more. Be good to her. The wife, she come back to Cudjoe and making the arrangements. Cudjoe got to pay the father for the girl. If she be a rich girl that been in the fat house long time, you understand? He got to pay 2 hectares for 2 cows, 2 sheep, 2 goats, chickens, yeah, maybe gold. The rich man keep his daughter in the fat house long time, sometime 2 years. She get it a dinner in there 8 times a day. They don't leave her get in and out of bed by herself. The one what keep the fat house, he lift them in and out, so they don't lose the fat. The man not so rich, he can't keep his girl there long, so she not so fat. So poor man don't send his daughter. Therefore, you understand, man pay different price for different girl. She the daughter of a poor family. She been married before or something, he don't pay much for her. When the new wife come first to her husband's compound, she live in the house with the old wife. She teach her what to do, how to take care of the husband. When she learn all that, then she have a house by herself. When they get it ready to build it, the new house, man take it the machete, chop the palm tree to mark the place where the house will be built. Then he throw down a cow and have plenty palm wine. Then all the people come and eat the meat and drink the wine, stomp the place smooth and builded the house. My grandpa, he built the wife house many times. Some men in the Africa so don't get a no wife because they can't buy nothing. They ain't got nothing to give, so a wife can come to them. Some got too many. When you hungry, it is painful. Belly too full, It painful too. All the wives make food dear for the husband. All the men, they like it, the fufu. He eat it the big calabash full to the top with fufu. Then my grandpa, he lay down to sleep. The young wives, for they are old enough to take up the actual duties of wifehood, help put their husband to sleep. One make him wind farm with a fan. Another one rub the head. Maybe one clean the hands and somebody look after the toe ends. Then he sleepy and snore. Somebody stand guard before the door so nobody make noise and wake him. Sometimes the son or the slave in the compound make too much noise. The man would stand guard kitchen and take him to my grandpa. He sit up and look at the boy so. Then he asked him, whoever tell you that the mouse can walk across the roof of the mighty, where is that Portuguese man? I'll swap you for tobacco. In the olden days, I'll walk on your skin. That is, I'll kill you and make shoes from your hide. I'll drink water from your skull. I would kill you and use your head for a drinking cup. My grandpa say that, but he don't never ask the chief to sell it nobody to the Portuguese. Some chief, they get him mad when their slave talk is so sassy and don't do work like they tell him. Then they sell him to the Portuguese. Chief throw orange under the table. Then he called the slave boy he going to sell and say to the boy, pick me the orange on the table. The boy stoop under the table. Chief got a man standing there, maybe two. When the boy go under the table to get it the orange, the chief say, catch the bushman. The man grabbed the boy and sell him. Chief, he ain't always glad. One day the wife died. She's still in the old wife's house and ain't never been no wife to the chief yet. She too young. Why she died, Cudjoe don't know. When day come to tell the chief his young wife dead, he go up, slap his hand on his wrist, then he scream in his fist and cry. He say, yeah, my wife dead. All my goods wasted. I paid big price for her. I fattened her, and now she dead. I never sleep with her once. Yeah, I lose so much. She dead and still a virgin. Yeah, 2 years. I have a great loss. Cudjoe looked out over his patch of pole beans towards the house of his daughter-in-law. I waited for him to resume, but he just sat there not seeing me. I waited, but not a sound. Presently he turned to the man sitting inside the house and said, go fetch me some cool water. The man took the pail and went down the path between the rows of pole beans to the well in the daughter-in-law's yard. He returned, and Clotilda gulped down a healthy cupful from a homemade tin cup. Then he sat and smoked his pipe in silence. Finally, he seemed to discover that I was still there. Then he said brusquely, go leave me alone, Cudjoe tired. Come back tomorrow. Don't come in the morning, cause then I'll be in the garden. Come when it's hot, then Cudjoe sit in the house. So I left Cudjoe sitting in his door with his bare feet exposed to the cloud of mosquitoes that swarmed in the shade of the inside of his house. Chapter 2. The King Arrives. The next day about noon, I was again at Cthulhu's gate. I brought a gift this time, a basket of Georgia peaches. He received me kindly and began to eat the peaches at once. Mary and Martha, the twin daughters of his granddaughter, wandered up to the steps. The old man's love of these children was quite evident. With glad eyes, he selected 4 of the finest peaches and handed 2 to each little girl. He scolded them on off to play with affectionate abuse. When they were gone, he looked lovingly after them, pointed to a little clump of sugar cane in the garden. See that cane? He asked. I nodded that I did. Well, I planted that cane. Tain't much, but I growed that so Martha and Mary come to me and say, Grandpa, I want some cane. I go cut and give it. There is a large peach tree in the yard that bears small but delicious clingstone peaches. They were beginning to ripen. The old man gave me one or two and put away one for each of the twins. I was shown all of the gardens. Kazoo was genial, but not one word about himself fell from his lips. So I went away and came again the following day. I brought another gift, a box of bee-brand insect powder to burn in the house to drive out all the mosquitoes. He was in a vocal mood and could scarcely wait until I set the powder burning to talk about his Africa. So we settled on the porch and he talked. I reminded him that he'd been telling me about the chiefs losing a wife under such unfortunate circumstances, and about his grandfather's compound. I don't forget him nothing. I remember everything since I defied you. Yeah, my grandpa, he an officer of the king. He'd be with the king everywhere he go, you understand? Therefore, you understand me? One man, he killed a leopard. Well, the king don't care about he kill a leopard, but the law say that when a man kill a leopard, he got to bring it to the king. King don't want to take the beast away from the man who kill it, you understand me? But he got to take the big hairs, whiskers to grow around the mouth. They're very poison, and the king don't want none of the people to get it killed. Some men stay wicked, you understand me, and they take the hairs and make the poison. Therefore, you know the king say when any man kills a leopard, got to cover the head so no woman can see it and bring the leopard to the king. Then the drums go beat. You call it all brave chiefs come discuss this leopard that's been killed. The king, he keep the head, the liver, the gall, and the skin. That always belong to the king. It all make it different medicine. All the body, it he dry and make it more medicine too. But some try to make a fetish and eat the flesh, so they eat it the medicine. Therefore, when a man killed the leopard, take the hairs before he let the king know he killed the leopard. They kill that man. He a wicked man. One man, you know, he killed a leopard. He covered the head and tied the body to a young tree, tied by the feet to a pole so that it could be carried. Well, the king called all the chiefs and they come looking. They take off the cover from the head and the king look at the hairs. He see one hair, it gone from the hole in the face where it grew. All the chiefs they look at too. They see the hair ain't there, so they called the man. The king say, well, you kill this beast? The man say, yeah, I kill it. How you kill this leopard? With the spear I kill it. Did you touch the head? No, I don't touch the head at all. I only a common man and I know the head belong to the king, so I don't touch it. The king look at the head and look at the man. He say, how is it this beast got the hole for the hair, but one hair not there? Tell me where the hair is. I see where it pull out. Who is it that you want to kill? The man say, I don't want killing nobody. I ain't touching the hair. That's the truth now. If I touch the hair, that NCBD, that is, the I be turned over to the executioner. NCBD being the name for the executioner. Well, they search the man and find the hair. Then they try it. All day, they talk palaver. So next day, they find him guilty. So they say, he got to die. He a wicked man, but expect to kill somebody with the hair. Therefore, you understand me? They tie him by the left foot and wait for Akuire Use, King's Day or Great Day. All executions being saved for this day, though a few are executed on the Queen's Day. Then they take him to the place of sacrifice. The king come with his seat, and all the chiefs bring their stool too. They seated themselves and they drum beat. It speak with the voice of the king. Then 3 NCBD come into place and dance. One have a mouthpiece that rattle. He shake the mouthpiece that rattle. He shake the mouthpiece and sing. What he sing? Cudjoe going to tell you. On a great day like this, we kill the one that is evil. On a day like this, we kill the bad one. Who would command the poison one from the leopard to kill us? On a great day like this, we kill him. Who would kill the innocent? He danced some more with the drum and the two others dancing with him. Then he sings some more. The great knife that eats no other blood but human blood. Let it kill him. It's a great knife. It feeds the earth. The great knife that eats no other blood but human blood. They dance some more when the king make it a sign. They dance up to the man where he tied at, and with one lick, chop the head off. The head fall to the ground, and the mouth works so it open and shut many times. But quick, they put a piece of the stick from the banana tree in the mouth. Then they can open the jaw when they get it ready. If they don't do that, the jaw closes and they can't get it open no more. The body of the man, they bury it in the ground. The head, they put it in the sacrifice place with the other heads. The king go back to his village, but the chief have court every day, all day. Somebody say to him, this man touch my wife. This a man commit adultery. Everything be done open there, not so many secrets. When a man kills somebody there, he be tried open, and all the boys and men in the village hear the trial. I don't know how come it done, but one man kill another one with the spear. So they arrested that man and tie his hands with palm cord. Then they pick up the dead man and carry him to the public square, the marketplace, you understand? Then they send message by the drum to the king in the village where he at to come set on the trial inside the case. In Africa, you understand? If somebody steal or commit adultery, the chief of the village, he try him. But if a man kill somebody, then they send for the king and he come inside the case. Therefore, when this man spear the other one through the breast, they send word for the king to come. The old folks, you understand me, the wise ones, they go out in the woods and get the leaves. They know which ones. Mash the leaves with water. Then they paint the dead man all over with this so he don't spoil till the king come. Maybe the king don't get there till the next day. When the king come, my grandfather, he come with him. Before anybody see the king, we know he is almost there because we hear the drum. When a little chief travel, he go quiet. But when the king go any place, you understand me, the drum go before to let the people know the king coming. That night, everybody sit up with the dead man all night and eat meat and drink palm wine and banana beer. Late the next day, you understand, the king come with the chiefs of the other villages to help him solve the case. So the chief of our village, he went out a short way to meet the king. Then he put down and killed cows and goats. It's too late that day to hold a trial, you understand me? So they decided to hold it next day. So they did. The king, he takes a special seat they bring for him. And the chiefs from the other towns, they sit on their stool of rank in different places around the square. The dead man is lying on the ground in the center where everybody sees it. The man that killed him, he tied where folks can see him too. Therefore, they tried him out. They asked the man why he killed this other one. He said the man worked juju against him, so his child died, and his cows, they stay sick all the time. The king said, if this man worked juju against you, why don't you tell the chief and the headman of the village? Why don't you tell the king? Don't you know we got law for people that work juju? You ain't supposed to kill the man. So they talk, and all the chiefs sitting round, they asking him questions too. In Africa, the law is the law. No man can make out he crazy like here and get excuse from them. If you kill anybody, you going to die too. They going to kill you. So the king say, I hear the evidence, but this man got no cause to kill that other one. Therefore, he must die. The man stand there. He don't cry. He don't talk. He just looks straight at the king. Then all the chiefs, they get around the king. And they talk here while and nobody know what they say at them. Then all the chiefs, they go back and take their seats again. Then the drums begin to play. The big drum, katakumba, the drum that speaks like a man, it begins to talk. And the man, what is in speedy, he begins to dance. They lead the murderer out into the center of the square. The insipidity he dances, he gestures. And as he dances, you watch the eye of the king and the eye of all the chiefs. One man will give him the sign. Nobody know which one will give the sign. They say that when they was whispering together. Therefore, the executioner dance until he get the sign of the hand. Then he dance up to the murderer and touch his breast with the point of the machete. He dance away again, and the next time he touch the man's neck with his knife. The third time that he touched the man, other men rush out and seize the murderer and take a bound cord and stretch him face to face upon the dead man and tie him tight so he can't move himself. When the executioner touched the murderer with his knife, that is a sign that he is dead already. So they wrap the cord around his neck and around the neck of the dead man. They wrap the cord around his body and around the body of the dead man. They wrap his arm and the dead man's arm with the same cord. His leg is wrapped as one with the leg of the dead man he done killed. So they leave him there. His nose is tied to the nose of the dead man. His lips touch the lips of the corpse. So they leave him there. The king and the chief talk palaver about other things while they watching the struggles of the murderer. Sometimes if he be a strong man and the person he killed be little, he managed to get up and go a little away with the body. But if the corpse be heavy, he lay right there till he die. If he cry for water, nobody pay no attention to him because he is dead since the machete first touched him. So they say, how can a dead man want water? If he cry to be cut loose, nobody pay attention to him. They say, how can a dead man want to be loose? The other dead man don't cry. How come this man cry? So they leave him there. But people watch until he die too. How long it take? Sometimes he die next day. Sometimes 2 or 3 days. He don't live long. People can stand the smell of the horse, the cow, and other beasts. But no man can stand smelling his nostrils of a rotten man. Chapter 3. When they try the man that steal the leopard hair, it's the time to cut grass so it don't choke the corn. Before the grass be dry enough to burn, my grandpa he takes sick in his compound. How come he takes sick? Cudjoe don't know. A little boy, and I don't know why he died. But Cudjoe know his father take him to the compound of his father. I didn't see him after he died. They bury him right away so no enemy come look down in his face and do his spirit harm. They bury him in the house. They dig up the clay floor and bury him. We say in the Africa song, we live with you while you alive. How come we can't live with you after you die? So you know they bury a man in his house. The coffin sitting there just like he in there. People come fetch you presents, place them in the coffin. The first wife, she sat at the head of the coffin. When somebody came, she cried. She cried with a song. The other wives, they join in and cry with her. When we come in, the chief wife of my grandpa got up from the head of the coffin and threw the veil off her face. The other wives throw off the veil too. Chief wife, she weeped very loud and said, "It is 40 years since he married me. Now you find me a widow. Only yesterday he was worried about his wives and children. Here he lies today in need of nothing." My father said, "Oh, the ground eats the best of everything." Then he weeped too. The chief wife, she cried some more, and the other wives cry and shake their voice. Aye. The chief wife said, "You wonderful man." Then my father said, "That is true. The ground can prove it. Then we set ourselves on the floor, and the wives cover up their faces and get it quiet. The man's sorry he did too. They come bring presents and look at the coffin. They drink palm wine, sing soulful for him song. O todo o wa, en lo yali, o uran, kanira ra, kanira ro. Then somebody else comes. The chief wife, she rises and starts to weeping again. They're very sad. They see the head of all the wives in shade. They see the cover over the face. Therefore, you understand, everybody feels sad. The first wife, she cry and say, how long since we were married, and now we are nothing but a widow. The husband would know how to keep a woman. The husband would know how to prepare a house. The husband would know every secret of women. The husband would knows what is needed and gives it without asking. How long since we were married, and now we are nothing but a widow. They call my grandpa brave and praise-giving names. Then they cry with another song. Whoever shake the leaf of that tree, sweet shrub, we are still smelling it. Whoever kill our husband, we shall never forget. Wives cry like that every time somebody comes. When nobody came, they sat quiet. 2 years they must be widowed. 1 year, they don't touch your water to the face. They wash it always with tears. In the Africa soul, the women grieve for their husband like that, you understand? All day, all night, people come. Every time somebody comes, the women cry. Kazula got that remote look in his eyes, and I knew he had withdrawn within himself. I arose to go. Going very soon today, he commented. Yes, I said. I don't want to wear out my welcome. I want you to let me come and talk with you again. Oh, I don't care you come see me. Cudjoe like have company. Now I go water the tail vines. You see, can you find ripe peach on the tree and get it some tail? I put the ladder in the tree and climbed up in easy reach of a cluster of pink peaches. He saw me to the gate and graciously said goodbye. Don't come back till the next week. Now I need chop the grass and garden. Chapter 4. In the 6 days between my visits to Veracity, I worried a little lest he deny himself to me. I had secured 2 Virginia hams on my trip south, and when I appeared before him the following Thursday, I brought him. He was delighted beyond his vocabulary, but I read his face, and it was more than enough. The ham was for him. For us, I brought a huge watermelon right off the ice, so we cut it in half, and we just ate from heart to rind as far as we were able. Then it was necessary to walk it down, so he showed me over the old landmark Baptist church at his very gate, where he's the sexton. Watermelon, like too many other gorgeous things in it, is much too fleeting. We lightened our ballast and returned to the porch. Now you want me to tell you something more about what we do in the Africa soil? Well, you good too. I don't care, I tell you something. It's too hot, I work anyhow. My father, he named Louis. Not a rich man. He had 3 wives. My mama, she named Nafonblolu. She the second wife. Now that's right. I no telling you I the son of the chief wife. That ain't right. I the son of the second wife. My mama had 1 son before me, so I her second child. She had 4 more children after me. But that ain't all the children my father got. He got 9 by the first wife and 3 by the third wife. When the girls marry, they like see how many children they can have before they husband. Aren't there some barren women? I asked. No, they all get children by their husband. If they don't get any babies, they go talk to the old folks. Then the old ones go in the bush and get it leaves and make a tea and give the girls something to drink. Then they get it babies for their husband. Some sometimes a woman don't never get it no big though. Cudjoe don't know why. In the compound, I play games with all the children my father got. We'll wrestle with one. We see which one can run the fastest. Climb the palm tree with coconut on it, and we eat it that. We go in the woods and hunt the pineapple and banana, and we eat it that too. Know how we find the fruits? By the smell. Sometimes our mama say we run play enough. They tell us, that too. Come sit down. I tell you stories about the animals when they talk like folks. Cudjoe don't know the time when the animals talk like folks. The old folks, they tell you that. Cudjoe like very much to listen. I said, I like to hear stories too. Do you remember any other stories your mama told? Well, said Kasumi. I'll tell you a story next time you come set with me. Now I'll tell you about Cudjoe when he a boy back into Africa. One day, Chief sent word to the compound. He wants the old boy that done see 14 rainy seasons. That making me very happy, because I think he gonna send me to the army. I've been almost 15 rainy seasons old. But in the Africa soil, they teach the boys long time before they go in the army. Therefore, you understand, when the boy about 14, they start training for the war. They don't go fight right away, no. First, they got to know how to walk in bush and see and not show themselves. Therefore, first the fathers, elders, take the boys on journey to hunt. Sometimes it go and come back before night. Sometimes it 2-3 sleeps nights. They got to learn to step on the ground tracks. They got to know whether what they hunt turn this way or that way. They learn to break the branch and turn it so they can find their way back home. They got to knot their long leaf so the folks behind can know to follow. The fathers teach us to know a place for the house campsite and how we must chop the bark of the biggest tree so somebody else go running, traveling, can know it a good place to sleep. Make the hunt in time, shoot the arrows from the bow, chunk a spear, we kill the beast and fetch them home with us. I'm so glad I could be a man and fight in the army like my big brothers. I like it, beat the drum too. They teach us to sing the war song. We sing when we walk in the bush and make like we go and fight the enemy. The drum talking with us when we sing the song. Ofu, ofu, tiki, 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 bati. Ofu, ofu, tiki, 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 bati. Ofu, bati, enko ese. When the day breaks, the cock shall crow. When the day breaks, the cock shall crow. When the day breaks, the cock shall crow. When someone crosses our roof, we shall tear a nation down. The actual meaning is, when we get there, we shall make our demands, and if we are crossed, we shall tear down the nation who defies us. Every year they teach us more war, but the king, Akiano, say he don't go make no war. He make us strong, so nobody don't make war on us. We know the secret of the gates, so when the enemy come and we don't know they coming, we can run, hide ourselves in the bush, then they don't see nobody, they go away. Then we come behind them and fight till they all dead. 4 or 5 rainy seasons, it keep on like that. Then I grow tall and big. I can run in the bush all day and not be tired. Clotilda ceased speaking and looked pointedly at his melon rind. There was still lots of good red meat and a quart or 2 of juice. I looked at mine. I had more meat left than Clotilda had. Nothing was left of the first install but a pleasant memory. So we lifted the half rinds to our knees and started all over again. The sun was still hot, so we did the job leisurely. Watermelon halves having ends like everything else, and a thorough watermelon eating being what it is. A long, overstuffed silence fell on us. When I was able to speak, somehow the name Juju came into my mind, So I asked Cthulhu what he knew about it. He seemed reluctant to answer my question, but finally did so. I tell you what I know about the juju. What did old folks do in the juju house? I don't know. I can't tell you that. Not too young yet. That don't reach you, baby. I know that all the grown men, they go to the mountain once a year. It have something to do with making the weather, but what they do there, Cudjoe don't know. Now that's right. I don't make out I know what go on with the grown folks. When I come away from Africa, I'm only a boy, 19-year-old. I have one initiation. A boy must go through many initiations before he become a man. I just initiate one time. One day, I was in the marketplace and I see a pretty girl walk past me. She's so pretty, I follow her a little way, but I don't speak. We don't do that in Africa. But I like her. One old man, he saw me watch the girl. He don't say nothing to me. He went to my father and said, "Your boy is about breaking the cool. He is getting to be a man and knows the secret of man. So put goats down or a cow. Let us fix a banquet for him." So my father say, "All right. But first they don't fix the banquet for him. They have in Africa a small stick on a string, and when they make it go round fast, it roar like that lion on the bull. They have three kinds. One, they call it the he, one the she, and one they call it the dog, because they make it bark down. The bull blow. No woman must hear this thing. If she do, she die. So they stay inside, shut it the door tight. Put me in the initiation house. After a while, I hear a great roaring outside the door, and they say to me, "Go see where that is." As soon as I went outside, I don't hear it at the door no more. It sounds way off in the bush. They tell me to go in the bush to hunt it. As soon as I go in the bush to find out what it is, I hear it behind me. I hear it behind me, in front of me, everywhere. But I never find it. The men are playing with me. Way after a while, they take me into the banquet. Tell me the secret of the thing that make that sound. At the banquet, they make me sit and listen with respect. They tell me, "You are just below us, but not yet a man. All men are still fathers to you." There's plenty of roast beef and wine at the banquet, and all the men, they pinch in my ear tight to teach me to keep the secrets. Then I get a peacock feather to wear. In America, so I see plenty of women wear the peacock feather, but they don't know what they do. In Africa, so boy got to get plenty of secrets inside that he don't talk, or he get it the peacock feather. Chapter 5. When I get it the peacock feather, I stand around the place where the chief talk with the wise ones. I hope they see Cudjoe and think you're a grown man. Maybe they call me to the council. The fathers don't ever call me, but I like it very much to be there and listen when they talk. I like it go in the marketplace too and see the pretty gals with the gold bracelets on the arm from the hand to the elbow. Oh, they look very fine to Cudjoe when they walk it. They sling their arms so when the bracelet ring. I like hear that. It sounds so pretty. One day, I see one girl I like very much to marry, but I'm too young to take a wife. But I like her. I think about her all the time. Therefore, I say to my folks, "Careful how you treat such and such a girl." They look at me, then they go ask for the girl to be my wife when I get a little older. One day, therefore, I in the market. 3 men come what's strange to us. They say they from the Holy. crops. If you don't send it, we make war. Our King Akyayon say, ask you king, did he ever hear the strong name of Akyayon? They call me Mouth of the Leopard. That he take hold on, he never let go. Tell him the crops ain't mine, they belong to the people. I can't send and take the people crops to send to the king of Dahomey. He got plenty land. Let him stop making slave hunt on other people and make his own crops. The king of Dahomey don't like that message. But Akyayon so strong, he's afraid to come to war. So he did. The king of Dahomey, you know, got very rich catching slaves. He keep his army all the time making raids to grab it people to sell to the people of Dahomey. Don't have no time to raise gardens and make food for themselves. Maybe the king of Dahomey never come make raid in Takoi. One traitor from Takoi go into Dahomey. A very bad man, and the king of Takoi say, leave this country. That man want big honors in the army, so he goes straight into Dahomey and say to the king, I show you how to take it, Takoi. Tell them the secret of the gates. Therefore, you understand me. They come make war. We don't know they come fight us. They march all night long and we in the bed sleep. We don't know nothing. About daybreak, when the folks that sleep get wake with the noise, when the people of Dahomey break in the great gate. I not woke yet, I still in bed. I hear the gate when they break it. I hear the yell from the soldiers while they chopping the gate. Therefore I jump out the bed and looking. I see the great many soldiers with French gun in the hand and the big knife. They got the women soldiers too. They run with the big knife and make noise. They catch people and they saw the neck like this with the knife. Then they twist the head so and it come off the neck. Oh Lord, Lord. I see the people get a kiss so fast. The old ones, they try to run away from the house, but they dead by the door. And the women soldiers got their head. Oh Lord. Cudjoe was soft, crossed his arms on his breast with fingers touching his shoulder. His mouth and eyes wide open as if he still saw the gruesome specter. Everybody, they run to the gate so they can hide themselves in the bush, you understand me? Some never reach the gate. The women soldiers catch the young ones, tie them by the wrist. No man can be so strong like the women soldiers from the Dahomey. So they cut off the head. Some they snatch the jawbone like the people ain't dead. Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord. The poor folks with their bottom jaw tore off their face. I'm running fast to the gate, but some people in front of me, they there too. I'm running to the next gate, but they there too. They surround the town. They're at all the 8 gates. One gate looking like nobody there, so I make haste and running towards the bush. But the man don't. They there too. As soon as I get out the gate, they grabbing me, tie the wrist. I beg them to let me go back to Mama, but they don't pay what I say no attention. They tie the rest. While they catch him, the king of my country, he come out the gate, they grab him. They see the king, so they very glad. Therefore, you understand me, they take him in the bush, where the king of Dahomey wait with some chiefs till Takoi be destroyed. When he see our king, he say to his soldiers, bring me the word changer, public interpret. When the word changer came to me, say, after this man, why he put his weakness again the line of Dahomey. The man changed the words for our king. Akyayon listened. Then he said to the Dahomey king, why don't you fight like him? Why you don't come in the daytime so that we can meet face to face? Man changed the words. The king of Dahomey know what he said. Then the king of Dahomey said, get in line to go to Dahomey, so the nations can see a conquered people sell Action in the Barracoon. Action said, I ain't going to Dahomey. I born a king in Takoi where my father and his fathers ruled before I was born. Since I've been a full man, I rule. I die a king, but I not be no slave. The king of Dahomey asked me, you not going to Dahomey? Tell him, no, he ain't going off the ground where he is the king. The king of Dahomey don't say no more. He look at the soldier and point at the king. One woman soldier step up with the machete, chop off the head of the king, pick it off the ground, hand it to the king of Dahomey. When I see the king dead, I tried to escape from the soldiers. I tried to make it to the bush, but all the soldiers overtake me before I get there. Oh, Lord, when I take about that time, I try not to cry no more. My eyes, they stop crying, but the tears running down inside me all the time. When they men pulled me with them, I called my mama name. I don't know where she is. I don't see none of my family. I don't know where they is. I begged the men to let me go find them, my folks. The soldiers say they got no ears for crying. The king of Dahomey come to hunt slaves to sell. So they tie me in the line with the rest. The sun is just rising. All day they make us walk, the sun's so hot. The king of Dahomey, he ride in the hammock, and the chiefs with him, they got hammock too. For me, I walk. The men of Dahomey, they tie us in the line, so nobody run off. In their hand, they got the head of the people they kill in Takoi. Some got 2, 3 head they carry with them to Dahomey. That's so sad for my home. I ain't getting hungry that day, but I'm glad when we drink the water. Before the sun go down, we come by a town. It got a red flag on the bush. The king of Dahomey sent men with the word changer to the town, and the chief come in the hammock and talk with the king. Then he take down the red flag and hang a white flag. What they say, Cudjoe don't know. But he bring the king a present of yams and corn. Soldiers make fire, cook the grub and eat it. Then march on. Every town the king sends message. He's be on the ground that night. But the king and the chiefs hang their hammock in the tree and sleepy in it. Then nothing don't harm them on the ground. For me, I sleep here on the ground and cry. I ain't used to the ground. I think he too about my folks and I cry. All night I cry. When the sun rise, we eat and march on to Dahomey. The king send word to every time we pass it, and the headman come on. If they got a red flag, that means they agree they ain't gonna pay no tax to the Dahomey. They say they will fight. If it a white flag, they pay to Dahomey what they asked to do. If it a black flag, that means that the ruler is dead and the son not old enough to take the throne. In the Africa soul, when they see the black flag, they don't bother. They know it be taking advantage if they make war like chalk. The heads of the men of Dahomey got begin to smell very bad. Oh, I wish they buried. I don't like seeing my people ahead in the soldiers' hands. And the smell making me so sick. The next day, they make camp all day so that the people can smoke their heads, so they don't spoil no more. Oh, we got to set there and see the heads of our people smoking on the stick. Stay there in that place the 9 days. Then we march on to the Dahomey soil. Cthulhu was no longer on the porch with me. He was squatting about that fire in Dahomey, his face twitching in abysmal pain. It was a horror mask. He had forgotten that I was there. He was thinking aloud, gazing into the dead faces in the smoke. His agony was so acute that he became inarticulate. He never noticed my preparation to leave him, so I slipped away as quietly as possible and left him with his smoke pictures. Chapter 6. Barracoon. It was Saturday when next I saw Cudjoe. He was gracious, but not too cordial. He picked me peaches and tried to get rid of me quickly, but I hung on. Finally he said, "Didn't I tell you not to come bother me on Saturday? I got to clean the church. Tomorrow's Sunday. But I came to help you, Cthulhu. You needn't talk if you don't want to. I thank you come help me. I want you to take me in a car into Mobile. I get in me some turnip seed to plant the garden." We hurriedly swept and dusted the church. Less than an hour later, the Chevrolet had borne us to Mobile and back. I left him at his gate with a brief goodbye and tackled him again on Monday. He was very warm this day. He glimmered and glinted with light. I must first tell him about the nice white lady in New York who was interested in him. I want you to write her a letter into New York. Tell her Cudjoe said 1,000 times, much obliged. I'm glad she sent you asking me what Cudjoe do all the time. I talked about the lady for a few minutes, and my words evidently pleased him, for he said, "I tell you more about Cudjoe when he was in the Dahomey. I tell you right. She good to me. You tell her Cudjoe like please her. She good to me and Cudjoe lonely." They march us in the Dahomey, and I see the house of the king. I can't tell all the towns we pass it to get to the place where the king got his house. But I remember we passed the place called Meko, and I just said, we go in the city where the king's got his house, and they call it Lomi, either Albany or Kenna. The house the king live in himself, you understand me. It's made out of skull bones. Maybe it not made out of the skull, but look at that way to Cudjoe. Oh. They got the white skull bone on the stick when they come meet us. And the men what march in front of us, they got the fresh head eye on the stick. The drum beats so much, look at like the whole world is the drum they beat on. That's the way they fetch us into the place where the king got his house. They place us in the Barracoon stockade, and we rest there ourselves. They give us something to eat, but not very much. We stay there 3 days. Then they have a feast. Everybody sing and dance and beat the drum. We stay there not many days. Then they march us to Esoko, the sea. We pass here a place called Badagry, Then we come in a place called Dwitta. It is called Dwitta by the whites, but Dwitta is the Nigerian pronunciation of the place. When we get in the place, they put us in a barracoon behind a big white house. They feed us some rice. We stayed there in the barracoon 3 weeks. We see many ships in the sea. We can't see so because the white house between us and the sea. Cudjoe see the white man. That's something he ain't never seen before. In the taco. We hear to talk about the white man, but he don't come there. Barracoon ain't the only slave pen at the place. They got plenty of them, but we don't know who the people in the other pens. Sometimes we holler back and forth, find out where each other come from. But each nation in a Barracoon by itself. We not so sad now. We all young folks, so we play game and clam up beside the Barracoon so we can see what's going on outside. We there 3 weeks. A white man come into Barracoon with 2 men of the Dahomey. One man, he a chief of Dahomey, and the other one is word changer. They make everybody stand in a ring, about 10 folks in each ring. The men by themselves, the women by themselves. Then the white man looking. He looking hard at the skin and the feet and the legs and in the mouth. Then he choose. Every time he choose a man, he choose a woman. Every time he take a woman, he take a man too. Therefore, you understand me, he take 130, 65 men, and a woman for each man, that's right. Then the white man go, wait. I think he go back in the White House. But the people of Dahomey come bring us a lot of grub for us to eat it, because they say we gonna leave there. We eat it a big feast. Then we cry. We sad, because we don't want to leave the rest of our people in the Barracoon. We all lonesome for our own. We don't know what gonna become of us. We don't want to be put apart from us. But they come, tie us in the line and lead us round the big white house. Then we see so many ships in the sea. Cudjoe see many white men too. They talking with the officers of the Dahomey. We see the white man that buys. When he see us ready, he say goodbye to the chief and get in his hammock and they carry him across the river. We walk behind and wade the water. It come up to the neck. Cudjoe think once he gon' drown. Nobody drown. We come on the land by the sea. Shore full of boats with many costs. The boats take something to the ships and fetch something away from the ships. They coming and going all the time. Some boat got white man in it. Some boat got poor African in it. The man that buys get in a crew boat and go out to the ship. They take the chain off us and place us in the boats. Cudjoe don't know how many boats take us out on the water to the ship. I, in the last boat, go out. They almost leaving me on the shore. But when I see my friend Kiwi in the boat, I won't go with him. So I holler. They turn round and take him. When we're ready to leave the crew boat and go in the ship, many costs snatch our country cloth off us. Try to save our clothes. We ain't used to be without no clothes. They snatch all off us. They say, you get plenty of clothes where you going. Oh, Lord, I'm so ashamed. We come to America so naked, and the people say we naked savage. They say we don't wear no clothes. They don't know the many costs snatch our clothes away from us. Soon we get in the ship that make us lay down in the dark. We stay there 13 days. They don't give us much to eat. We so thirsty. They give us a little bit of water twice a day. Oh, Lord, we so thirsty. The water tastes sour. Footnote: vinegar was usually added to the water to prevent scurvy. End of footnote. On the 13th day, they fetch us on the deck. We so weak we ain't able to walk ourselves. So the crew take each one and walk round the deck till we get so we can walk ourselves. We're looking, and we don't see nothing but water. Where we come from, we don't know. Where we going, we don't know. The boat we on, called the Clotilda. Cudjoe suffers so in that ship, oh Lord. I so scared on the sea. The water, you understand me, it makes so much noise. It growls like 1,000 beasties in the bush. The wind got so much voice on the water. Oh Lord. Sometimes the ship way up in the sky. Sometimes it way down in the bottom of the sea. They say the sea was calm. Cudjoe don't know. Seems like it moves all the time. One day, the color of the water changed. to the show for 70 days. One day we see the color of the water change, and that night we stop by the land. We don't get off the ship. They send us back down in the ship, and the next morning they bring us the green branch off the tree. So we Africans know we about finished the journey. We've been on the water 70 days, and we spend some time lying down in the ship till we tired. In the days we on deck, nobody ain't sick, nobody ain't dead. Captain Bill Foster, good man. He don't abuse us and treat us mean on the ship. They tell me it'll Sunday us way down in the ship and tell us to keep quiet. Cap Bill Foster, you understand me? He's scared the government folks in Fort Monroe gonna catch the ship. And at night the ship will begin. Cudjoe didn't know then what they do. They tell me they towed the ship up the Spanish Creek to 12 Mile Island. They took us off the ship, and we get on another ship. Then they burn the Clotilda because they scared the government gonna arrest them for fetching us away from Africa. So first, they divide us with some clothes. Then they carry us up the Alabama River and hide us in the swamp. But the mosquitoes, they so bad, they about to eat us up. So they took us to Captain Vern Mayer's place and dried us up. Captain Tim Mayer, he took it 32 of us. Captain Burns Mayer, he took it 10 couples. Some they sent up the river in the Cudjoe. Captain Bill Foster, he took it to 8 couples. And Captain Jim Mayer, he get it the rest. Very sorry to be parted from one another. We cried for him. We took away from our people. We 70 days across the water from the Africa Sea. And now they part us from one another. Therefore we cry. We can't help but cry. So we sing. Eh, aye, lana se wu, re, aye, nana sa wu. Our grief so heavy, look like we can't stand it. I think maybe I die in my sleep when I dream about my mama. Oh, look. Clotilda sat silent for me. I saw the old sorrow seep away from his eyes and the present take his place. He looked about him for a moment and then said bluntly, "I'm tired talking now. You go home and come back. If I talk it with you all the time, I can't make it no guard. You won't know too much. You asked me so many questions. That'll do, etc. Go on home." I was far from being offended. I merely said, "Well, when can I come again? I sent my grandson a letter, you know. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week." Chapter 7. Slavery. Captain Jim, he took me. He make a place for us to sleep it underneath the house. Not on the ground, you understand. The house, it high off the ground and got the bricks underneath for the floor. They give us bed and bed cover. It ain't enough to keep us warm. They don't put us to work right away, because we don't understand what they say and how they do. But the others show us how they raise the crop in the field. We are astonished to see the mule behind the plow. Captain Tim and Captain Burns Mayer work it they folks hard. They got overseer with the whip. One man tried whipping one of my country women. They all jump on him and take the whip away from him and lash him with it. Don't never try whip African women no more. The work very hard for us to do, because we ain't used to working like that. But we don't grieve about that. We cry because we're slaves. Not time we cry. We say we born and raised to be free people and now we slaves. We don't know why we bring weight from our country to work like this. Strange to us. Everybody looking at us strange. We want to talk with the other colored folks, but they don't know what we say. Some make it a fun ass. Captain Jim, he a good man. He not like his brother Captain Tim. He don't want his folks knock and beat all the time. You see my shoes get raggedy, you know? And he said, Cudjoe, if that's the best shoes you got, I get you some more. Now that's right. I know telling lies. Work us hard, you understand me? But he don't work at his folks like his brother. They got take 2 plantations, one on the Tennessee River and one on the Alabama River. Oh Lord, appreciate they free me. We don't have no bed clothes. We work it so hard. The women, they work in the field too. We not in the field much. Captain Jim got it 5 boats run from the Mobile to the Montgomery. Oh Lord, I work it so hard. Every landing, you understand me, I tote wood on the boat. They have the freight, you understand me? And we have to tote that too. Oh Lord, I'm so tired. No sleep. The boat leaking. We pump it so hard. They ain't got no railing on the boat, and in the nighttime. You don't watch it close, you fall overboard and drown yourself. Oh Lord, I appreciate they free me. Every time the boat stop at the landing, you understand me? The overseer, they whipping balls. He go down the gangplank, standing on the ground. The whip sticky in his belt. He holler, hurry up there, you. Running fast. Can't you run it no faster than that? You ain't got enough load. Hurry up. He cutting you with the whip if you ain't run fast enough to please him. If you don't get a big load, he hitting you too. Oh, Lord. 5 years and 6 months, I say. I work it so hard. Look alike, now I see all the landings. I call all them for you. The first landing, after the Mobile, is the 21-mile bluff. The next is the Chastain. The next is the mouth of the Tennessee. Then the 4-gun shorter. Then the pass Tombigbee. Then the next is the Montgomery Hill. Then the next is Choctaw Bluff. Then the Game Town. Then Tay Creek. Then the Annapolis. Then Claremont. Then Low Peachtree. Then Upper Peachtree. Then we come to the White Bluffs. Then the Blue Bluffs. The next day after that is the Yellow Jacket. The river, it is shallow there sometimes. The boat have to wait for the tide. The next day after that is Cahoba, then Selma, then Bear Landing, then Washington. Then the last place is the Montgomery. I think I remember them, you understand me, but I ain't been there since 1865. Maybe I forget it some. Don't look it like I never forget. I worked so hard and we ain't had nothing to sleep it on but the floor. Sometimes bluff is so high, we got to chunky the wood down to 3 times so it get down where the river is. The steamboat didn't used to burn it the coal. It burned it the wood. It uses so much wood. The war commences. We don't know about it when it starts. We see the white folks running up and down. They go in the Mobile, they come out on the plantation. Then somebody tell me the folks is way up in the north make the war so they free us. I like to hear that. But I don't want to be no slave. We wait. We hear the gun and shoot us sometime, but nobody don't come tell us we're free. So I think maybe they fight about something else. The Yankees, they fought war, you understand? They're there on account of the war and they don't let nothing come past it. So poor folks, they ain't got no coffee or nothing. We parched the rice and bacon and coffee. Then we ain't got no sugar. So we put the molasses in the coffee. That don't taste so good, you understand me? nobody can't do nothing about it. Captain Jim there said where he don't want us to starve, you understand me? So he tell us to kill hogs. He say the hogs, they his and Peter's. He don't want him no dead folks. Therefore, you know, we kill the hogs. We can't get enough. When we at the plantation on Sunday, we so glad we ain't got no work to do. So we dance like in the African soap. The American colored folks, you understand me? They say we savage. And then they laugh at us and don't come say nothing to us. But Free George, you understand me? He, a colored man, don't belong to nobody. His wife, you understand me? She been free long time. So she cooked for a Creole man. And by George, 'cause she married with him. Free George, he come to us and tell us not to dance on Sunday. Then he tell us what Sunday is. We don't know what it is before. Nobody in Africa so don't tell us about no Sunday. Then we don't dance no more on the Sunday. Know how we get it free? Could you tell you that? The boat I own, it in the Mobile. We all on there to go into Montgomery. But Captain Jim there, he not on the boat that day. Cudjoe don't know why. I don't forget. In April 12, 1865, the Yankee soldiers, they come down to the boat and eat the mulberries off the trees close to the boat, you understand? Then they see us on the boat and they say, y'all can't stay there no more, you free. You don't belong to nobody no more. Oh, Lord, I'm so glad. We asked the soldiers where we going. They say they don't know. They told us to go where we feel like going. We ain't no more slave. Thank the Lord. I sure appreciate they free me. Some of the men, they owned a steamboat in the Montgomery and they got to come in the Mobile and unload the cargo. We ain't got no trunks, so we make it a bundles. We ain't got no house, so somebody telling us come sleep in the section house. We done that till we get ourselves someplace to go. Cudjoe don't care. He a free man then. Chapter 8. Freedom. After they free us, you understand me? We so glad. We make it a drum and beat it like in the Africa song. My countrymen come from Captain Burns' Mayor plantation where we is in the magazine point, so we be together. We glad we free, but then you understand me, we can't stay with the folks what own us no more. Therefore, where we gonna live, we don't know. Some of the folks from across the water, they done married and got the wife and children, you understand me? Cudjoe not married yet. In the Africa so when the man got it a wife, he built a house so they lived together and therefore the children come. So we won't build the houses for ourselves. But we ain't got no land. Where we gonna build our houses? We meet together and we talk. Say we from across the water, so we go back where we come from. So we say we work in slavery 5 years and 6 months for nothing. Now we work for money and get in the ship and go back to our country. We think Captain Mayer, Captain Foster, they ought to take us back home. But we think we save money and buy the ticket ourselves. So we tell the women, now we all want to go back home. Somebody tell us it take a lot of money to carry us back into Africa. So therefore we got to work hard and save the money. You must help too. You see fine clothes, you must not wish for them. The women tell us they do all they can to get back in their country. They tell us you see fine clothes, don't you wish for them neither. We work hard to try to save our money. But it's too much money we need. So we think we stay here. You see, we ain't got no ruler, nobody to be the father to the rest. We ain't got no king, neither, no chief like in the Africa. Don't try to get no king, cause nobody among us ain't born no king. They tell us nobody don't have no king in America, so therefore we make Gumper the head. He a nobleman back in the home. We ain't mad with him, cause the king of the home destroy our king, sell us to the white man. He didn't do nothing against us. Therefore we join ourselves together to live. So we say, we ain't in the Africa soil no more. We ain't got in no land. Therefore we talk together, so we say, they bring us away from our soul. And work it as hard to 5 years and 6 months. We go to Captain Tim and Captain Jim, and they give us the land, so we make it houses for ourselves. They say, Cudjoe, you always talking good. So you go tell the white man and tell them what the Africans say. All the Africans, we work it hard to get it work in the sawmill and the power mill. Some of us work for the railroad. Women work too, so they can help us. They don't work for the white folks. They raise it a garden, put it a basket on the hill, go into Mobile and sell the vegetables. We make it a basket, and the women sell it them too. Therefore, you understand, yet one day not long after, they tell me to speak it for land, so we build our houses. Cudjoe cutting timber for the mill. At a place where the schoolhouse at now. Captain Tim may have come sit on the tree, Cudjoe just chop it down. I say, now is the time for Cudjoe to speak it for his people. He want land so much I almost cried. Therefore I stop at work. Look here, Captain Tim. He sat on the tree chopping splinters with his pocket knife. When he don't hear the axe on the tree no more, he look up and see Cudjoe standing there. Therefore he asked me, Cudjoe, what make you so sad? I tell him, Captain Tim, I grieve for my home. He say, but you got a good home, Cudjoe. Cudjoe say, Captain Tim, how big is the Mobile? I don't know, Cudjoe. I've never been to the Four Corners. Well, if you give Cudjoe all the Mobile, that railroad and all the banks, Cudjoe don't want it cause it ain't home. Captain Tim, you brought us from our country where we had land. You made us slaves. Now they make us free, but we ain't got no country. We ain't got no land. Why don't you give us peace this land so we can build ourselves a home? Captain jump on his feet and say, fool, do you think I'm gonna give you property on top of property? I took it good care of my slaves in slavery, and therefore I don't owe them nothing. Don't belong to me now. Why must I give you my land? Cudjoe tell Gumper, call the people together. He tell them what Captain Tim said. They say, well, we buy ourselves a piece of land. We work it hard and save, and eat molasses and bread. Buy the land from the mayor. They don't take off 1 5 cent from the price for us, but we pay it all and take the land. We make Gumper the head, and JB and Kibi the judges. Footnote. Gumper is African for Peter. End of footnote. Then we make laws how to behave ourselves. When anybody do wrong, we make him appear before the judges, and they tell him he got to stop doing like that cause it don't look nice. He don't want nobody to steal, neither get it drunk, neither hurting nobody. When we see a man drunk, we say, there go the slave what beat his master. That mean he buy the whiskey. It belong to him, and he ought to rule it, but it don't got control of him. Now that's right, ain't it? When we speak to a man what do wrong, the next time he do that, we whip him. Therefore, we builded the houses on the land we buy after we divide it up. Cudjoe take 1 acre and a half for his part. We don't pay nobody to build our houses. We all go together and build the house for one another. So then we get the houses. Cudjoe don't build him no house at first, cause he ain't got no wife. Call our village African Town. We say that cause we want to go back into Africa, so we see we can't go. Therefore we make it to Africa where they fetch us. Gumper say, my folks sell me, and your folks, Americans, buy me. We here, and we got to stay. Free George come help us all the time. The colored folks were born here. They pick at us all the time and call us ignorant savage. But Free George, the best friend the Africans got, tell us we ought to get into religion and join the church. But we don't want to be mixy with the other folks would laugh at us. So we say we got plenty land, therefore we can build our own church. Therefore we go together and build the old landmark Baptist church. It's the first one around here. Cudjoe dismissed me by saying abruptly, when you come tomorrow, I'd like you to take me down the bay so we get us some crab. Chapter 9. Marriage. He had on his battered hat when I drove up the next day. His rude walking stick was leaning against the door jamb. He picked it up and came on out to the car at once, and we drove off. Without the last prompting, he began to talk about his marriage. Obila, she a woman, you understand, from across the water. They call her silly in American soil. I want this woman to be my wife. She ain't married, you understand me, and I ain't got a no wife yet. All the folks from my country, they got family. What did Cudjoe say so that this woman know he want to marry her? I tell you that. I tell you the truth, how it was. One day, Cudjoe said to her, I'm liking you to be my wife. I ain't got nobody. She said, what you want with me? Want to marry you. You think if I be your wife, you can take care of me? Yeah, I can work for you. I ain't going to beat you. I didn't say no more. We got married 1 month after we agreed between ourselves. We didn't have no wedding. Whether it was March or Christmas Day, I don't remember now. Therefore, you know, we live together. We do all we can to make happiness between ourselves. Therefore, you understand me, after me and my wife agreed between ourselves, we seek a religion and got converted. Then in the church, they tell us that ain't right. We got to marry by license. In the African soil, you understand me, we ain't got no license. The man and the woman, they agreed between themselves. Then they married and lived together. We don't know nothing about they have license over here in this place. So then we get married by the license. But I don't love my wife no more with the license than I love her for the license. She a good woman, and I love her all the time. Me and my wife, we have 6 children together. 5 boys and 1 girl. Oh Lord, we so happy. Poor Cudjoe. All the folks done left him now. That's so lonely. We've been married 10 months when we have our first one. We call him Yaji, just to seem like we was in the Africa, so for America we call him Africa. In the Africa we got it 1 name, but in this place they tell us we needed 2 names. 1 for the son, you understand me, then 1 for the father. Therefore I put the name of my father, Louis, to my name. But it's too long for the people to call it. It's too crooked, like Kazula. So they call me Cudjoe Louis. So you understand me? We give our children 2 names. 1 name because we not forget our home. Then another name for the American soil, so it won't be too crooked to call. The next child we name him Anonoto. Then call him Jimmy. The next one named Polidau. He a boy too. Then we have Artemia, and we call him David. The last boy, we calling him my name, Cudjoe. But his African name is Fisher Tongue. Then my wife have one little girl, and we call her Ibu Osi. Then we call her Celie, after her mother. All the time the children growing up, the American folks, they pick it. Tell the African people they kill folks and eat it to meat. They call it my children ignorant savage. Make out they kin to monkey. Therefore, you understand me, my boys, they fight. They got to fight all the time. Me and their mama don't like to hear children called savage. It hurt their feelings. Therefore, they fight hard. When they whip the other boys, they folks come to our house and tell us, your boys mighty bad, Cudjoe. We afraid they gonna kill somebody. Cudjoe meeting the people at the gate, telling them, you see the rabbit snake in the woods? They say, yeah. I say, if you bottle with it, he bite you. If you know the snake killing you, why bother with it? Same way with my boys, you understand me? If you leaving my boys alone, they not bother nobody. But they keep on all the time. Alec this, Jimmy that, Polly this and t'other. David a bad boy, Cudjoe fighting my son. Nobody never say what they do to the African savages. They say he ain't no Christian. They tell what the savages do to them. Just like we ain't got enough feelings to get hurted. We Africans try to raise our children right. When they say we ignorant, we go together, build the schoolhouse. Then the county send us a teacher. We African don't wait like the other colored people till the white folks get ready to build us a school. Build one for ourselves, then ask the county to send us the teacher. No, Lord, I love my children so much. I try so hard to be good to our children. My baby, Celie, the only girl I got. She took it sick in the bed. Oh, Lord, I do anything to save her. We get it the doctor. We get it all the medicine you tell us to get. Oh, Lord, I pray, I tell the Lord, I do anything to save my baby life. She ain't but 15-year-old, but she died. Oh, Lord. Look on the gravestone and see what it says. August the 5th, 1893. She born 1878. She don't have no time to live before she died. Oh, Mama, take it so hard. Try, tell her not to cry, but I cry too. That's the first time in the American soul that death find where my door is. But we from across the water know that he come in the ship with us. Therefore, when we build our church, we buy the ground to bury ourselves. It on the hill, facing the church door. We're Christian people now, so we put our baby in the coffin. They take her in the church. Everybody come look down in her face. They sing, shall we meet beyond the river? I've been a member of the church a long time now, and I know the words of the song with my mouth. But my heart, it don't know that. Therefore, I sing inside me. O todo o wa, elo yali, o uran, kanira ra, kaniro ro. We bury her there in the family plot. She looking so lonesome out there by herself. She's such a little girl, you understand me, that I hurry and build a fence round the grave. So she has protection. 9 years we heard it inside about our baby. Then we get heard it again. Somebody call himself a deputy sheriff killed the baby boy now. We say he the law, but he don't come resting. My boy done something wrong. It's his place come resting like a man. He mad with my cudgel about something, then he ought to come fighting face to face like a man. He don't come resting like no sheriff. Don't come fighting like no man. You have words with my boy. He's scared facing. Therefore, you understand me, he hide it himself in butcher wagon. And when it get it to my boy's store, Cudjoe walks straight to talk business. This man, he hiding himself in the back of the wagon and shooting my boy. No, shooting my boy in the throat. He got no right shooting my boy. He make out he's scared my boy gonna shoot him and shooting my boy down in the store. Oh, Lord. The people run, come telling me my boy hurt. Took him home and lay him in the bed. Big hole in the neck. He tried so hard to catch his breath. Oh Lord, it hurted me to see my baby boy like that. It hurted his mama, so her breast swelled up so. It make me cry, cause it hurts serious so much. She keeps standing at the foot of the bed, you understand me? Looking all the time in his face. She keep telling him all the time, Cudjoe, 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 baby. Put whip to your horse. It hurt it so hard, but he answered her the best he can, you understand me? Tell her, Mama, that's what I've been doing. 2 days and 2 nights, my boy, in the bed, the noise in the throat. His mama never leave him. She look at his face and tell him, put whip to your horse, baby. He prayed all he could. His mama prayed. I prayed so hard, but he died. I'm so sad, I wish I could die in place of my Cudjoe. Maybe I don't pray right, understand me? Cause he died while I was praying that the Lord spared for my life. The man that killed him, my boy, he the pastor of Hay Chapel in Plateau today. I try to forgive him. The Cudjoe think that now he got religion, he ought to come and let me know his heart done change. Beg Cudjoe pardon for killing my son. It only 9 years since my girl died. Look like I still hear the bell toll for her when it tolled again for my fishy tongue. My poor African boy that don't never see Africa so. Chapter 10. Clotilda learns about law. They don't do nothing to the man what killed my son. You deputy sheriff. I don't do nothing. I a Christian man then. A sick man too. I done get hurted by the train, understand? Cudjoe tell you how he get hurted. I tell you just like it was. Cudjoe don't forget it. It in March, you understand, then. I make it a God. It's the 12th day of March, 1902. Here a woman called me, understand, to plow the field for her. She say, Cudjoe, I like to get you plow the garden so I can plant the sweet potatoes. I'll pay you. I agree to that. Therefore, you understand me, I get up early the next morning and go plow the garden for her. So then, when I get through with hers, I can plant my garden. I don't finish her garden, because my wife, she calling me in school. She telling me, Cudjoe, why you go work it hard like that before you eat your breakfast? That ain't right. You gonna be sick. I got your breakfast ready long time. You come eat. I go home with Celia and eating the breakfast. Then I think it going rain. So I decide I plant my beans. Therefore, you understand me, I tell my wife, come to the field with me and helping me plant the beans. She say, Cudjoe, why you want me in the field? I can't plant the beans. I tell her, come on and drop the beans while I held them up. She come with me and I show her how. After a while, she say, Cudjoe, you don't need me to drop no beans. You can't work without no woman around you. You bringing me here for company. I say, that's right. We ain't got enough beans. So I went to the market and asked the man for early beans, but he ain't got none. Therefore, you understand me, I get him my wife some meat and come home. Then I feed him my horse, and my wife, she cooking. So then I curry the horse in a sprinkle rain. I stop it and stir. I don't know if I go get it more beans in the mobile or if I wait. I decided to go fetch the beans. Therefore, I asked my wife to give me money. She put $3 on the mantelpiece. I asked her, silly, why you give me so much money? I don't need no $3. She say, spend what you need and bring it the rest back. I know you ain't gonna waste it, the money. Then I hitch up the horse and go in the mobile to get the beans. As soon as I get the beans, I turn back to go home. When I reach here, the government street and come. It the L and railroad track there, you understand? When I approach the track, another rig going very slow in the middle of the road. So I make to pass it the rig, and just when I pass it and get out on the track, the train rush it down. Oh no, I holler to them to stop, cause I there on the track, but they don't stop. It'll switch it, you understand? It rush it on, and hit it the buggy and knock me and hurt in my left side. Oh Lord, the horse gets scared and run away. My boy David find him next day, fetch him home. Somebody see the train hit me and hear me holler for them to stop. They come picking me up and carry me to the doctor office. He give me the morphine. A white lady on Government Street see me all hurted. She see that I took care of her. When I go home, she send me a basket and visit me. She say the railroad ain't got no right to smash up the buggy and hurting me. I in the bed 14 days. They broke 3 ribs. They ain't rung no bell. They ain't blow no whistle. She say she gon' see the company. Therefore she go in the office of the L&N. The man in there telling her, we ain't going to do nothing. It was daytime, can't he see? When I get able to get round, the lady telling me, get me a lawyer. He make it a company, pay me for hurting me and destroy the buggy. Therefore, I go in the office of Lawyer Clark, he a big lawyer. Cause you tell him, I ain't able to hire you. I want you to go to the company. I give you half. The lawyer sued the company. The next year, 1903, in January, they sent for me to appear in court. The judge say, the first case this morning is Cudjoe Lewis against the L&N for $5,000. I look at her. I say to myself, who tell him that? I didn't tell him I want $5,000. The railroad lawyer said, we ain't going to give him nothing. Well, Lawyer Clark talked too. He said I or her would never be able to work no more. They pull off my short and look at the left side and the doctor say no, cause you can't work no more. Then Lawyer Clark say, the railroad ought to take care of me. Done crippling me so bad. The railroad lawyer said, they not going to give me nothing. They say it broad daylight. Ain't this Cudjoe got no eyes to see the great big train? Lawyer Clark said, the train got a bell, but they didn't ring it. They got a whistle, but they didn't blow. The railroad track is laying right across the road. How can the city of Mobile let it, the company make it the street dangerous and don't make it pay when people get hurty on their track? Talk a long time. Then we all go out to courthouse to eat at dinner. I tired. I go home. I go get me some flesh in the market to take home to Celia. David, he stay in the court. He know the market I like, and therefore he run catching me in the market before I go home and tell me, Papa, the judge give you $650 from the company. The lawyers say you come tomorrow and get your money. I don't go next day, but I send David. The lawyers say, that's too soon, come back next week. Well, I sent. But Cudjoe don't get in no more. In the 1904, the yellow fever come into Mobile. Lawyer Clark take his wife and children and get on the train to run into New York, away from the fever. They never get it in the north. He die on the way. Cudjoe never know what come of the money. It always a hidden mystery how come I'm not killed when the train is standing open. Now thank God I'm alive today. The people see I ain't able to work no more, so they make me the sexton of the church. Chapter 11. Cudjoe's friends down the bay caught us a marvelous mess of blue crabs. We left these people late in the afternoon with many lingering exchanges of good wishes. On the way home, we saw some excellent late melons in front of the store and bought 2 of them. I left one melon on his porch and took the other with me. At the gate, he called after me, you come tomorrow and eat a crab with me. I'd like you come keep me company. So the next day about noon, I was sitting on the steps between the rain barrels eating crabs. When the crabs were gone, we talked. Let Cudjoe tell you about our boy David. He's such a good boy. Cudjoe don't forget that day. It Easter Saturday. He come home, you understand me, and find me sweeping the church. I've been sexton a long time, David. So he asked me, Papa, where Mama? I tell him, she in the house. Therefore he go in the house, you understand me, and asked his mama what she gonna have for dinner. She tell him she got the baked fish. He say, oh, I'm so glad we got baked fish. Give me my dinner quick. His mama asked him, when did you ever see me give you anything to eat before your papa? He say, never. She said, taking your back then. Maybe that time your pa here to eat his dinner. Boy running back out to me and tell me make haste so we get something to eat. Get home. I chop it wood. So he take the axe and chop it wood himself. I say, go on, son, I ain't weak yet. I can chop this wood. He say, no, I don't want you to chop wood, and I'm right here and strong. Therefore he chop it wood. Carry it in the house where his mom can reach it. Then he get out dinner. David washed himself and his mama put out the clean clothes for him to put on. He got on the undershirt, but he ain't got on the top shirt. He ain't got no button on the undershirt. So me and his mom see the flesh. So I say, son, fasten your clothes so your mama don't see the skin. He looking at himself. Then he asked me, who first saw me naked? My mom. Then he laughed and put on the rest of the clothes. He said, Papa, Mama, I go in the mobile and get it a laundry. Then I have clean shirts. I asked him, how long before you come from town? He said, not long. Maybe I'll get you the same car back. So the house. After a while, we hear somebody that come laughing and talking. Celia said, David got a friend. I look at to see who David got with him, but it ain't David. 2 men come tell me, Uncle Cudjoe, the boy dead in Plateau. I say, my boy not in Plateau. He You the sexton. You told the bill for everybody else. You want me told it for David. I asked him, why you want to toll the bill for David? He ain't dead. The African man told the people pick up the body and carry it home. So they took the window shutter, laid the body on it, fetch it to Cudjoe's gate. The gate ain't too small, so they lifted over the gate and placed it on the porch. I was so worried. I wish it so bad my David come back from town, so the people stopped saying that my son on the shutter. When they placed the shutter on the porch, my wife, she screamed and fall out. The African man said, Cudjoe, that's your boy. I say, if that's my son, tell me where to head. They brung it in a box and I looked it down in David's face. Then I say to the bar, get off my porch. Get out my yard. David. Then I fell down and opened the shirt, pushing my hand at the bosom and feel the marks. And I know it, my son. I tell them, told the bell. My wife looked at my face, and she screamed and screamed. Fell on the floor, can't raise herself up. I'm running out the place and fell on her face in a pine grove. Oh, Lord! I said, I heard it. It hurted me so to hear silly cry. Those who had come across the water come to me. They say, Uncle Cudjoe, come home. Your wife wants you. I say, tell silly little heart, boy, I can't stand it. She promised me she won't holler if I come. So I got back to the house. I asked a good friend, where they head? He said, they're yonder in Cracker Bars. I tell him, I want you to put it there on the neck and fasten it so that when people come in the morning, they won't know. My friend fastened the head so it don't look like it cut off. Therefore, next day when people come looking in his face, he look just like he sleeps. The bell told again. Our house is very sad. Looking like all the family hurry to leave and go sleep on the hill. Police very mad because the railroad killed his brother. He want me to sue the company. I asked him, what for? We don't know the white folks' law. They say they don't pay you when they hurt you. The court say they got to pay you the money, but they ain't done it. I'm very sad. Police very mad. He said the deputy killed his baby brother. Then a train killed David. He want to do something. I ain't hold that. The Bible say not. Police say in African soil it ain't like in the American. He ain't been in the Africa, you understand? But he hear what we tell him and he think that better than where he at. And his mama try to talk to him, make him satisfied. But he don't want to hear nothing. He say when he a boy, they, the American Negro children, fight him. Say he a savage. When he get a man, they cheat him. The train hurt his pop for pain. His brothers get it killed. He don't laugh no more. Well, after a while, you understand. One day he say, he go catch some fish. Somebody see him go 12 to 12 Mile Creek. Lord, Lord, they never come back. There was a muted, mournful pause, in which I could do nothing but wait with my eyes in the Chinaberry tree, lest I peer indecently intrusive. Finally came back to me. Excuse me, I can't help it, I cried, lonesome for my boy. Cudjoe know they don't do in the American soil like they do across the water. But I can't help it. My boy gone. He ain't in the house, and he ain't on the hill with his mama. Both Missy and I don't know. Maybe they killed my boy in a hidden mystery. So many folks they hate my boy because he like his brothers. They don't let nobody abuse them like they dogs. Maybe he in the Africa sort of like somebody said. Oh, Cudjoe lonesome for him. But Cudjoe don't know. I tried to be very nice to see it. She the mama, you understand? Therefore, you know she grieves so hard about our children. I always try to please her, you understand? But he ain't got but 2 our children with us. I can't stand see her look so like she won't cry all the time. We ain't got but 1 child in the house with us. Cause Allie, the oldest one, you understand? He married and lived with his wife. They built him a house right in the yard, just like in the Africa so. Look like we ain't crying up. We ain't through crying. Into November, our Jimmy come home and sit around like he don't feel good. So I asked him, son, you getting sick? I don't want you running to work when you don't feel good. He say, Papa, there ain't nothing wrong with me. I don't feel so good. But the next day, he come home sick and we put him in the bed. Do all I can and his mama stay up with him all night long. We get it, the doctor do what he say, but our boy died. Oh Lord, I'm good to my children. I want their company. But looking like they lonesome for one another. So they hurry go sleep together in the graveyard. He died holding my hand. When we get it back from the funeral, there ain't nobody in the house but me and Celie. The house was full, but now it's empty. We old folks now. We know we ain't gonna have no more children. We so lonesome. But we know we can't get it back to dead. When they spit goes from their mouth, it don't come back. When the earth eats, it don't give back. So we try to keep one another company and be happy. I still sexton of the church. It's going to be a big church now. We call it the Old Landmark Baptist Church, because it's the first one in Africa time. They done build more Baptist churches now, but ours is the first. My wife, she helped me all she can. She don't let me strain myself, so I heard it aside for the train hit it. One day we planned, the next we read, so we go on. Before I left, I had Kazula's permission to photograph, but he forbade my coming back within 3 days. A cow had broken in his fence and was eating his potato buns. It was on a hot Saturday afternoon that I came to photograph Kazula. I'm glad you taken my picture. I won't see how I look. Once a long time ago, somebody come take my picture, but they never give me one. You give me one. I agreed. He went inside to dress for the picture. When he came out, I saw that he had put on his best suit, but removed his shoes. I want to look like I in Africa. Is that where I want to be? He explained. He also asked to be photographed in the cemetery, among the graves of his family. Chapter 12. Alone. One night, Celia wake up in the night and say, Cudjoe, wake up. I dream about her children. Look like they cold. I tell her she think too much. Go back to sleep. It hurted me, because it a cold night in November in 1908, and a Remember how Celia used to visit the children when they was little to see they got plenty quilts, so they keep warm, you understand? The next day, she said, Cudjoe, come on, let's we go see our children's grave. So I say yes, but I try not to take her, because I'm afraid she'll worry about her. So I go in the church and I make it like I'm busy, so she forget it the graveyard. When I come out to church, I don't see her nowhere. So I look across the hill and I see her in a family lot. I see Celia going from one of her children's grave to the other, like she covered them up with no clothes. The next week, my wife left me. Cudjoe don't know. She ain't been sick, but she died. She don't want to leave me. She cry 'cause she don't want me be lonesome. But she leave me and go where her children. Lord, the wife, she the eyes to the man's soul. How can I see now when I ain't got no eyes? The next month, my Alex died. Then I just like I come from the African source. Got nobody but the daughter-in-law Mary and the grandchildren. I tell you, she my son's wife, so she stay in the compound. She take the land when I go with Celia and our children. Old Charlie, he the oldest one, come from the African soil. One Sunday after my wife left me, he come with all the others to come across the water and say, Cudjoe, make us apparel. Well, then I say, you see old Charlie there? Suppose he stopped here on the way to church. He got the parasol, 'cause he think it's gonna rain when he leave the house. They look the sky. Besides, it ain't gonna rain, so he said he'd step out the door, go on to church. After the preaching, he go on home, 'cause he think the parasol is Cudjoe house. See, he say, I get it next time I go that way. When he come home, he said to one of the children, go to Cudjoe house and telling him I say, sending me my parasol. The parasol, it pretty. I like it, keep that. But I asked them all, is it right to keep the parasol? They all say no, it belonged to Charlie. Well, I say, my wife, she belonged to God. He left her by my door. I appreciate my countrymen. They come see me when they know I know me. Another time they come to me and say, Uncle Cudjoe, make us another parrot. I bow my head in my hands. Then I lift it up again. Footnote. This is a characteristic gesture when he begins a story. End of footnote. Then I talk. I don't know. Me and my wife, we've been riding. I think we go to Mount Vernon. The conductor go to her and say, oh lady, where you going to get off? She say, Plateau. I look at her. I say, oh, you say you gonna get off at Plateau. I thought you were going to Mount Vernon with me. She say, go ahead. She say, I don't know. I just know I get off at Plateau. I don't want to leave you, but I got to get off at Plateau. The conductor blow once, he blow twice. And my wife, she say, goodbye, Cudjoe. I hate to leave you. But she get off at Plateau. The conductor come to me and ask the old man, where you gonna get off? I say, Mount Vernon. I traveled yet. When I get to Mount Vernon, I no talk to you no more. I had spent 2 months with Clotilda, who was called Cudjoe, trying to find the answers to my questions. Some days we ate great quantities of clingstone peaches and talked. Sometimes we ate watermelon and talked. Once it was a huge mess of steamed crabs. Sometimes we just ate. Sometimes we just talked. At other times, neither was possible. He just chased me away. He wanted to work in his garden or fix his fences. He couldn't be bothered. The present was too urgent to let the past intrude. But on the whole, he was glad to see me, and we became warm friends. At the end, the bond had become strong for him to wish to follow me to New York. It was a very sad morning in October when I said the final goodbye, and looked back the last time at the lonely figure that stood on the edge of the cliff that fronts the house. He had come out to the front of his place that overhangs the Cochran Highway that leads to the bridge of that name. He wanted to see the last of it. He had saved 2 peaches, the last he had found on his tree, for me. When I crossed the bridge, I knew he went back to his porch, to his house full of thoughts, to his memories of fat girls with ringing golden bracelets, his drums that speak the minds of men, to palm nut cakes and bull laurels to his parables. I am sure that he does not fear death. In spite of his long Christian fellowship, he is too deeply a pagan to fear death. But he is full of trembling all before the altar of the past. Appendix. Takoi, or Atako, children's game. A memory test game played by 2 players. One player, A, the tester, squats facing the diagram which is drawn on the ground. The other player, whose memory is to be tested, squats with his back to the figure. A grain of corn is placed in each of the 3 circles between the lines. Each of the lines, 1, 2, 3, have a name. Number 1, Akinjo Akim. Number 2, Abaja Lefon. Number 3, Apun Dakre Admeji. A points at line 1 at W, and B says Akinjo Akim. A points to line 2, and B says Abaja Lefon. A goes on to line 3, and B says Apun Dakre Admeji. Then A points to circle 1, and B says, corn. A removes the grain of corn from the circle and goes back to line 1 at W. B recites the name again. A goes to line 2 and 3 as before, then to circle 1. B says, no corn. Then A points to circle 2, and B says, corn. A removes the corn from circle 2 and returns to line 1, W, 2, and 3, and B gives the names as before. Then A goes to circle 1, and B says no corn. To circle 2, and B says no corn. To circle 3, and B says corn. The corn is removed from circle 3, and A returns to line 1 at W, and goes through the 3 lines and circles as before. Of course, if B remembers that there is no corn in any of the 3 circles, A then points to line 1 at X, and B says, Akinjo Akini. And A goes on to lines 2 and 3, and then on to circle 1 between X and Y, and B says, corn. A removes the corn and returns to line at W, and goes through the empty circles to lines at X and the empty circle. B says no corn, and A goes on to the next circle where B says corn. The corn is removed, then back to line 1 at W, and the game keeps up until the 12 circles have been emptied of corn, if B's memory is good enough. Another game seems to be akin to both billiards and bowling. 3 balls are racked up, and the player stands off and knocks them down with 7 balls in his hand. The top ball of the 3 must be hit last with the 7th thrown ball. Stories Clotilda told me. There are no windows in Clotilda's house. It was a cold day in December and the door was closed. The little light came from the pine knots in the fireplace. It is crude, but suits his needs very well indeed. There are 2 pieces of iron slanting slightly upward in each inside wall of the fireplace. It is an African idea transplanted to America. They are placed there to support the rats for drying fish. Clotilda smokes a great deal and taps his pipe quite often. All of his pipes have tops that he has made himself to keep the fire from falling out as he works. The pipe lids are just another of the evidences of the primitive, the self-reliance of the people who live outside the influence of machinery. There is something in the iron pot bubbling away among the coals. We eat some of the stew and find it delicious. It is a sort of stew of all flesh shredded in some way. Clotilda lights his pipe again. You want me to tell you stories about Africa? I done forget all that. I've been in America so 69 years last August. It's been so long I have anybody to talk with, I forget. You don't be mad with Uncle Cudjoe if he forget, baby. I wouldn't hurt your feelings for nothing in this world. I assure him that I can never be angry, no matter if he never remembers a word, but praying strongly for him that he remembers. We sit for a long time in silence. I tell him a few stories after giving him a chance to think, and he is delighted. Finally, he turns eagerly towards me, his face alight. But why I tell you this story? 3 men, you understand? They agree they ain't gonna tell one on the other. One day these 3 men, they say, we ain't got no meat. Lest we go in the woods, find a cow and drive it up. They hunt till they find a fat one and they kill it. They all get round it. One say, I want a hind leg. Others say, I want a hind leg. Third one say, I want a hind leg. A beaming face is turned to me to see if I get the point that 3 men can't get a hind leg off a cow. He is very happy that I appreciate the dilemma in take. They begin fight and fight. One say, I kill you. Very expressive gesture of conflict. Others say, I kill you. Very hearty laughter. The struggling gestures continue. They fight till they come to the highway, and the officers see them fight. You understand me? And he say, looky here, what y'all fight about? One of the men, he say, if you don't fool me, I'll fool you. He asked the other, he say, if you don't fool me, I won't fool you. The third man, he say the same thing. So the officer, he go to the king and say, I found 3 men, they fight. But when I asked them what for they fight, they all say, if you don't fool me, I won't fool you. The king summons them to pair before him, and he say, what's the matter, you 3 men? They all say same thing again. Hearty chuckle. Then the king, he say, something they do. They don't want to tell. They is men of strong friendship. Then he give them 10 coats, 10 shoes, 10 of everything, and sent them off. They went back and vied the cow equally. Mirthy tears ran down the cheeks of Clotilda, and he shook with chuckles long after the tale was finished. But he could not be persuaded to tell another that day. You come again Tuesday next week, and I'll tell you something if I think. But Uncle Cudjoe getting old. I've been in America soil since 1859, I forget. On the Tuesday after the New Year, I found Cudjoe in a backward-looking mood. He was with his departed family in the land to the west. He talked about his boys. He grew tearful over his wife. My soul. I lost my wife to 15 November 1908. We've been together a long time. I married her Christmas Day, 1865. She a good wife too. There was a long, feeling silence. Then he turned on me and spoke. Oh, Charlie, he the oldest one, come from Africa. Come one Sunday, after my wife left me and say, Uncle Cudjoe, make us a parrot. Then I asked him, how many limbs God give the body so it can be active? They say 6, 2 arms, 2 feet, 2 eyes. I say they cut off the feet, he got hands to fend himself. They cut off the hands, he wiggle out the way when he see danger come. He was the eye, they can't see nothing come upon him. They finish. My boys is my feet, my daughter is my hands. My wife, she my eye. She left, Cudjoe finished. It was 2 o'clock, and Kazula excused himself that he might work on his fence before dark. Come see me contain coal. 2 days later, I sat beside his fire in the window of his house and watched him smoke until he was ready to speak. I told him a story or 2, and finally he glowed and stirred. It a man, you know. He got a son. 6 men, you understand? They follow him all the time. The long running, the old man say, son, these men always in your house. You know what 6 men do to you? They don't do nothing to me. That's what the son say. And always the 7 men be together till he get grown. And the time come for him to marry. The old man, he won't try these 6 men. So when the son married, he hide the girl. And then he take a ram, and he kill it and cut off the horns. He fix it and make it look like the girl. Then he say to the boy, go tell your friends that you married a girl last night and she feel dead, and I don't want the king to know. Dig a grave. He wants the friends to dig the grave and bury her. Perhaps she was too young and never had known no man. Well, the 6 men come to dig the grave, but only 2 stayed to finish dig, and 4 went to spread the news, clean till it reached to the king. The king then sent for the old man and say to him, son just married that girl, where's she? She at home, the old man say to the king. And he said, where your house? I want to see. The king goes with him to the house, and he showed him. Then he say, well, what you bury in the hole? He said, the ram. The king unsatisfied. He have to dig up the grave and let the king see the ram himself. Then he tell the king how it is. I asked my boy about these 6 men. He say they all right. All the time they sleep and eat and go with him. I won't know their friendship, so I kill her the ram. The king say, you have knowledge. And so he paid the 2 what stayed, dig the grave and don't say nothing, and killed the 4 men what talk and betray their friend. The monkey and the camel. One day, I tell you this one. The Veracity weasel went up the melon tree to eat himself some fruit. The camel, he liked melon all the time, so when he see the weasel tree, he go ask him, throw him some. The weasel throw him some. Then he come down and go in his house. The camel, he still wanted some more melon, so he wait. After a while, the monkey, he go to the melon tree to get him some too. The camel, he hurry up under the tree and say to the monkey, give me some of the melons too. The monkey throw him some. Then he asked the monkey to throw him more, and he eat of that. Then he asked him for more and more till the monkey, he get tired. He want to come down from the tree, go home to dinner with his fruit. So he tell the camel he too greedy. He want more melon. Let him climb the tree himself and get his some. That make the camel mad. So he say that the monkey is a very mouth-fed animal, with an ugly red behind and a very ugly nose. Now the monkey, he know that his nose is ugly. He is very ashamed for the camel to speak about it. So he say that the camel is a creature with no hind quarters. The camel gets so mad at that, till he reach up the tree and grab the monkey and carry him off. Well, after he walk a while, he meted the rhinoceros and he asked him, "Camel, how come you seized the monkey?" The camel said, "Let him tell himself." The monkey, well, I was up the melon tree eating some fruit, and the camel come along and asked me to throw him some. I did throw him some, and more and more. But when I was tired and want to go home, he says that I am a beast, ugly nostrils, sunken eyes. And I got very mad, say that the camel is a beast without a rump, and he done seized me and took me on. The rhinoceros said that the monkey was wrong to speak at the camel, so told him not to let him go. So the camel carried him on. After a while, they met the leopard and said, "Oh, camel, what make you seize the monkey? Is he done you wrong? Let him tell you himself what he done." The monkey, "Well, I was up the melon tree eating some fruit, and the camel, he come up under the tree and asking me to throw him down some fruit. Well, I throw him some, then some more, then some more, till I get him very tired. Then I say, he is a lazy animal that worries other animals when they go to get fruit. Let him climb the melon tree himself." Then he say, "I am a creature with no manners and a red behind. And I say that he is a beast with no behind at all, and not enough tail to hide the place where his behind ought to be." Then he grab me, bring me here. The leopard said that the monkey was wrong to speak thus up the camel, that the camel must not let him go. So the camel carried him. After a while, they come to the house of the weasel. He was sitting outside the doorway. He seen the camel with the monkey, and he asked the camel, "Oh, camel, how come you seized the monkey? What he done wrong?" The camel said, "Let him tell it himself." The monkey said, "Well, I was up the melon tree getting fruit for my wife, and the camel come under the tree and asked me to throw him down some fruit. I done throw him some, then more, till I was tired. And I said he was a greedy beast whose rump looked like he'd been drinking cognac, a powerful laxative. And he grabbed me and bring me here." Now the weasel, he feels sorry for the monkey, and he know himself that the camel is worrisome under the fruit tree. So he said a while, then he said, "I will be the judge twixt you two." And they both say, "All right, you be the judge first." The first thing he say, "You monkey, come sit here on my right side, and you camel sit here on my left, whilst I decide the question." They both done what he said, and he sat there quiet for a while. Then he opened his mouth. "Oh, monkey, I sentence you for speaking so to the camel to leap up that tree whilst I run into my hole." He done that. The camel was left sitting where it was. After a while, he went away. Story of the jump. What you want me to talk, John? Who and what kind of prophet is Jonah? I don't know. I couldn't tell you that. God speaking unto Jonah, "Go tell Nineveh to turn to me, 'cause they sins, it come before me." Jonah say, "No, I ain't going." Jonah say, "Well, being I here, he gonna torment me. I gonna get away from here." So he put them, in the vessel ship to go to Joppa, that a country where God ain't going to bother. Listen, Cudjoe say so. He didn't know it. God is everywhere. And so he went on to the ship. go to Joppa. God look at it. God see Jonah in the vessel. And so when he went to the vessel, God looking. Gesture of a penetrating look at him. He see the Jonah there. He see the Jonah there. So God went to the east and gestured of unlocking and flinging wide a door. Unlucky the storm room. Say to the storm, come out. Hand uplifted in a kingly commanding gesture. And the storm started. Then God went to the west. Unlucky another storm room. Gesture. Come out there. Then God went to the north. Unlucky that storm room. Tell it to come out. Then he went to the south. Unlucky another storm room and another storm in the south. All storms come meeting together. All storms coming meeting together, and the vessel can go nowhere. Now, what did the captain say? That what I go telling you now. The captain say, that's not the first time I go travel in the sea. Something wrong. And the man say, Captain, there's a man in the boat. And then he pay his fare. Captain say, whereabouts is he? They say, he way down in the bottom of the boat. He say, go tell him to come here. I'm going to tell you what the sailors say when they went down in the bottom of the boat. I'm going to tell you what they say to Jonah. They say, oh, sleeper, wake up from your sleep and call on your God, else we go perish in the sea. When he come to the captain on the deck, he say, who you? He, Jonah, say, I'm a Hebrew, done run away from God. Captain say, what must we do now so the sea can become calm? He say, heave me overboard. The captain say, I ain't going to do it till we draw the lot. We don't want to be guilty of your blood. They draw the lot, and the lot fell on Jonah. Looky here, God prepared a whale right alongside of the ship with his mouth wide open. Gesture. When they threw him in, the whale took him, carried him to Nineveh 3 days and 3 nights. When he got to the Nineveh, he heaved him on the shore. Ain't no shade in the seashore. So God suffered the gourd vine grow over his head for the shade. Jonah won't go to Nineveh, so God sending a worm and cut his gourd vine, slashing the gesture down, hand lifted straight up. God said, Jonah, your name called. He said to him, go into Nineveh. When they got there, he said 40 days and 40 nights, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. And the king said, this is the man of God. 3 days, 3 nights, the cows, the pigs, neither the mules, neither the chickens give him nothing to eat. Nobody eat, neither drink. So Jonah went to the mountain to see how it gonna be overthrown. But instead of that, God blessed him. So then Jonah got mad. Said, Lord, didn't you tell me you gonna destroy that city? God say, Jonah, there's 7,000 women and children in that city don't know right from wrong. If you think I'd go destroy it, you's crazy. How long Nineveh to bless you? I don't know. At the end right there, that's the fur I can go. Now this is Abraham, father of the faithful. He had nephew named Lot. Now that's right. Both of them cute folks. They have servant mind stuff, but they raise it. One day, they two servants, they quarreled. Abraham said to the Lot, we two kinfolks, these servants, they quarrel. Don't let it break the friendship. Now, that all right, that's enough. Now, which way you going? Lot said to the Abraham, I going to Sodom and Gomorrah. Where you going? Abraham say, I going to the land of Canaan. When they saw much in sin in Sodom and Gomorrah, then the Lord, he took it 2 angels to pass Abraham's tent. Abraham seen it and wanted to bow to it. And then he went and get kid and dress him and set it before them to eat it then. When they get through eating, they start to Sodom and Gomorrah. One the angels say to the other, let's not hide it our business from Abraham. Let's tell him where we want. So they say, Abraham, do you know we going to Sodom and Gomorrah to set it afire? Go and burn the place down. So much sin went before God that God going to burn the place out. No, Abraham said, if I find the 50 righteous, will you spare the city? The angel said, yes, for your sake. Abraham went to Sodom and Gomorrah and can't find the 50 righteous. If I find the 40 righteous, will you spare the place? They say, yeah, for your sake, we spare it. Fell back to 25 and couldn't find them. When he called for 10, the Lord listened. He flee away from it. Then the 2 angels go to Lot's house and tell him, now you leave here and don't look it back. When people see the daughters of Zion come to Lot's house, they say to Lot, what is they doing there? Lot say, don't bother them. Then the angel pulled Lot back and waved the hand, and all the people go blind. Then they say to Lot, you flee away from here just as quick as you can, and don't look it back. Lot's wife look it back and turned to a pillar of salt, and she be there till judgment day. Poor Cudjoe, I know look it back. I press it forward. The lion woman. 3 men, they each have a beta. One say, if I live to marry a wife, when she have a son, he go get down on top of an elephant to ride. Another one say, if I live to have a wife, when she have a son, he go get down on top of a zebra for a ride. The third man, he say, if I live to marry this a girl I love, when she have a son, he go get down on top of a lion or a saddle horse. The people, they say, how he gonna do that? He can't do that because before he catches the lion catches him. He say, oh no. Well, he married a girl and they have a son. When they born, he gets so he can run and throw the spear from the hand, you understand me? The man, he go in the woods and he found 2 young lions. They mama, she gonna kill her something for them to eat. So he take it to 2 lions and kill it one, take it to hide, stretch it on the fence and guard. The other one, you understand me, he chained a neck to a tree. The mama lion, she come home, she miss her babies. She know the man take her children. She feel hurting, understand? Her breasts swell away like this. She make up her mind she going to punish the man for killing her babies. So she turn herself into a woman, and many men see her come into the village. She look very fat, handsome, and all the men want to marry her. She tote a purse here upon the hip. She say she will marry the man that throws something in the purse. Everybody, they chunking in the purse. They chunk and they chunk. Some throw too far, some don't throw far enough. Nobody make it go in the purse. The man that catches the lions, he stand and look at it, but he don't try chunky in the purse. He love his wife. He don't want no more wife. She watch him, and she ask him, why you no try chunky in the purse? Don't you want me for your wife? He say, I don't want a chunk. I got a wife already. She say, but I wanted you to chunk. She beg him, please, till after a while. Just So he pick up something with his left hand, throw this away. But it went right in the purse. So she went home with him to his house. Soon she get in the house, she see the skin stretch over the garden fence. And see the other one chained to the tree. She swell up inside her. She wish for night to come. She wish it was night that minute. She lay in bed to man that night, but she ain't never go to sleep. He go sleep, but she wait to kill him. When she see he sleep, she turned back to a lion, got up, walking in the house. The man, he got dogs, you understand? They know she a lion. They know when she get up to kill him. Just when she go to him to tear him up, the dogs bark and say, no you don't, that's my master. If and you kill him, can't cross this yard. We killing you. She come back and lay down with the man. Wake him up. She say, husband, I can't sleep. Your dogs making so much noise to keep me awake. I think they gonna come in the house and bite me. You better go chain them up. He get up, go chain the dogs like she say. Then he go back to sleep. She get up again, but the dogs hear. They talk so loud, she's scared he hear. So she get back in the bed. She think what she can do to kill him. In the morning, she say to him, I can't stay with you cause your dogs, they won't let me sleep. I'm going home this morning. You going piece away with me? He say he go with her piece away. He go get his hunting spear and his bow and arrow. But she say, what for you take the spear? You mean to killing me on the way? You don't need no arrow, me. He tell you, he always take his spear when he go to the woods. But she cry and say she's scared he gonna kill her. So he put down the weapon. Then he put on his hunting knife, but she make him take that off too. Then he take your whistle, you understand? Put it in his shirt. Take 9 eggs to eat on the way. Then he go on with him. On the way, they talk. She ask him, if a lion jump on you, what you gonna do? He say, I turn to a deer and run away fast. Oh, but a lion overtake a deer. Then what you do? Then I turn to a snake and I go in the ground. Oh, but the lion catch you before you dig the hole. Well, then I turn. He start to see he turned to a bird and fly up in the tree. But the voice of his father come to him and say, hush. So he say, I don't know what I do to you. After a while, they come to a woods, and the woman excused herself and go in the bush and stay there. Then a big lion come out, take right after the man. He think quick what he gonna do. And he turned to a bird, fly up in the highest tree. The lion opened one side and took out 9 men with their axes, and opened the other side and take out 9 more, and then begin to chop it down the tree. The man, he blow the whistle, so his dogs hear him and come. And then they chop hard at the tree. The lion, she walk round and round and roar what she gonna do when the tree fall. When the tree begin to fall, the man drop 1 egg in the tree. It come back up again. Blow and blow for his dog, but they ain't heard him yet. He dropped another egg when the tree commenced to fall next time. And he kept on till the last egg get gone. The tree began to shake again, but he blow and blow on his whistle. One young dog say to the other, that's anybody master's whistle right here, don't you think so? The old dog say, oh, lay down. You always hear something, so you can run in the woods. After a while, the young dog say he hears something again, but the old dog say, no, be quiet. Tree is almost chopped down, and the lion stand on her hind legs, so she grabbed him and fall. The young dog say again, he hear the whistle, and the old dog say, wait, I believe I hear something too. Wait a minute. Here, listen. Then he say, it is master's whistle. he in trouble too. Let me go in the house and put the eye medicine in the eye. Go in the house, put the medicine in his eye, so that he can see clear across the world. He say, I see, master. He in bad trouble. Let's go. They run to the tree faster than anything in the world. Killed the lion and all the men. The man flew down from the tree, turned back to his circuit. Then the man and the dogs take up all the meat, take it home, and throw it in the yard. Then the man, he go in the house with his wife, but he don't tell her nothing, cause the old dog, he tell him that if tell, die. Then she look in the yard and see all the meat. She say to him, where you get all the meat? And he say, I've been hunting. But he don't tell her that the dogs done made baskets out of plum twigs and brought meat home. They walk on their hind legs like a man. Tote the baskets with their front legs. His wife say, you never brung home all of that meat. No man can tote so much. It's too much for one man. You tell me who brung that meat for you. All day she keep that. Nighttime come, and he won't go to bed. She say no, she not sleep with him, never no more unless he tell her about the meat. So he tell her, then she sleep with him. But the next morning, she say to the dogs, why don't you tell me you can tote meat like a man? Here I've been had to wash your eating trough and tote your grub to you, and you plenty able to bring your plate, fetch your own grub. Then the man, he died, cause he told what the dog tell him not to. And the people make a great funeral for 3 days. His wife, she cry, cause she make him die. But they go to bury him. But the old dog say, no, wait till his father come. He gone away on a journey. So they wait 3 more days. When the father come, he rubbed medicine on his eyes, and he woke him. And he live a long time after that. And his son get down on the line, he from home. This is Robin Miles. We hope you have enjoyed this unabridged production of Barracoon, the story of the last black cargo by Zora Neale Hurston, edited and with an introduction by Deborah G. Plant. This program was produced by John Marshall Media. Executive producer, Suzanne Mitchell. Text copyright 2018 by the Zora Neale Hurston Trust. Production copyright 2018 by HarperCollins Publishers. All rights reserved. Thank you for listening.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program.